A stranger broke into my cousin's room at midnight, and she screamed desperately for my help. In the second life, I returned to the night my cousin screamed for my help. I grabbed a kitchen knife and fought the man, while she hid in the bedroom refusing to assist. I was reborn on the night the intruder broke in to assault her. The man slashed the back of my head, leaving me with permanent dementia and unable to care for myself. The piercing sound of my cousin's screams jolted me awake from bed. She emerged unscathed, even holding the door open to let the handsome intruder escape after getting a good look at him. The agony of drowning felt so real. I can still feel that suffocating breathlessness. When the police questioned my cousin about the fugitive's appearance, she claimed she hadn't gotten a clear look. I screamed for my parents to save me, but they were miles away at the police station. Later, my cousin became the village laughingstock, an old maid nobody would marry due to her tarnished reputation, anxiously waiting for that online stranger who supposedly had new leads. She resents me for supposedly costing her a chance with that hot guy and ruining her reputation by calling the police. Little did I know, that stranger was actually my cousin in disguise, under the pretense of visiting me. She sent my parents away and held my head underwater in a foot basin until I drowned. My cousin dumped my body in the creek by our house, staging it to look like a tragic drowning accident. First calm the assailant, then seize the opportunity to state your demands. Sorry cousin, I just dozed off. 1. Are you okay? Are you badly hurt? Should we call the police? I can't find my glasses. I think I left them in the living room. He replied with 2 lines. Oh dear, my eyes aren't what they used to be at my age. Afraid I might mistake her for a pig if they got mixed up. I immediately fell silent, my disappointment over the hairbow forgotten, replaced only by pity for my cousin. As the only child in her family, my aunt and uncle always felt guilty about her looks. The first thing Vanessa did after getting married was to ask if they could use my place as their newlywed home. It felt like an invisible fist clenched my heart, squeezing tighter until the organ threatened to burst. With grad school still months away, I figured I'd get a job to earn some tuition and living expenses. The memory of my cousin's desperate cries for help remained vividly etched in my mind. That's why I rented this apartment near the office. Her piercing screams and sobs overwhelmed me with compassion. Originally I was sharing it with a coworker, but they suddenly quit halfway through. I couldn't bear to see the cousin I'd grown up with suffer such humiliation at a stranger's hands. Uncle, I could forgive my cousin for hitting me, insulting me, even taking my house from me. The police won't arrive anytime soon, and by then the perpetrator would have likely gotten away with it. But falsely accusing an innocent person, that's unforgivable. Without regard for my own safety, I grabbed a kitchen knife after calling the police and barged into my cousin's room. She sneaked into my room and used my belongings. How dare she turn around and claim I framed her? The moment I turned on the lights, the intruder had nowhere to hide. Uncle's face turned ashen, then flushed crimson with rage, veins bulging in his neck and forehead. When my cousin saw the assailant's face clearly, all her resistance instantly ceased. He stopped hitting Vanessa and instead swung the baseball bat at Derek's head. The man's striking good looks hit all her aesthetic sweet spots, leaving her momentarily spellbound and oblivious to the perilous situation. The uncle lashed out in blind rage, completely losing control. Standing before me was a man a full head taller and twice my bulk. Derek got a huge lump on his head from the blows, with several bloody scratches across his face. My grip on the kitchen knife trembled slightly as I mustered all my bravado to threaten. His thighs, arms, and back took over a dozen hits each. I've already called the police. Leave now if you know what's good for you. With that, I stepped aside from the bedroom door. I knew full well I was no match for the man before me, so I had no choice but to back down. I prayed he'd take the out I offered, humiliating as it was. It would minimize the damage. The man seemed ready to quit while he was ahead, already making subtle moves toward the exit. My timid cousin, who had been trembling behind me with flushed cheeks, suddenly found her courage from somewhere. To my surprise, she spread her arms wide, blocking the man's escape route. Then she haughtily confronted the criminal. You're not going anywhere. I've memorized your face. You think running away will solve everything. 2. The thug's eyes flashed with malice as he kicked my cousin out of the way. He seized the cleaver from my hands when I least expected it. He swung the cleaver at my cousin with murderous intent. My cousin burst into terrified sobs, clinging to my leg and hiding behind me. The thug slashed at my arm with his knife, nearly severing it completely. I kicked him square in the groin, then quickly pressed my hand against the bleeding wound as he writhed in pain, darting toward my bedroom. Seeing this, my cousin followed close behind. She was halfway into the bedroom when the assailant yanked her hair and dragged her violently toward the living room. Ignoring the pain in my arm, I grabbed my cousin's thigh and engaged in a desperate tug-of-war with the attacker, but my strength was no match for his, and I could only watch helplessly as my cousin was dragged out of the bedroom. Barely able to protect myself, I briefly considered abandoning my cousin to save my own life. My cousin was sobbing her heart out, desperately reaching toward me for help. Left with no choice, I had to find another way to save her. Suddenly remembering there was another kitchen knife, I rushed back to grab it in a frenzy. The moment I got the knife, the intruder in the living room let out a blood-curdling scream. My cousin sank her teeth into the thug's thigh, tearing off a bloody chunk of flesh. The howling criminal released her, and she darted into my bedroom, slamming the door shut behind her. I emerged from the kitchen with a cleaver, completely stunned by the scene before me. Seeing his prey escape, the enraged thug turned his murderous gaze toward me. Terrified, I retreated to the kitchen and locked the door after he blocked the living room exit. But the kitchen's frosted glass door offered little protection as the enraged intruder hacked at it wildly with a cleaver. The deafening blows made my blood run cold as I watched the glass door splinter under his assault. 2 cracks appeared, then multiplied into a spiderweb of fractures. With a final crash, the entire glass door shattered into pieces. When the intruder burst in, sheer terror blanked my mind. I could only swing the kitchen knife wildly at him. I screamed for my cousin's help simultaneously, praying she'd come to my aid, but everything went black after the attacker's cleaver struck my skull, leaving me unconscious in a pool of blood. My cousin never showed up from start to finish. The police sirens downstairs startled the assailant, and the cleaver hovering over my heart never came down. He frantically wiped away fingerprints from the scene, then turned on the gas stove in a desperate attempt to blow up the house and destroy all evidence. After cleaning up the scene, the assailant was about to flee. My cousin emerged from the bedroom upon hearing the police sirens. To my bewilderment, instead of stopping the intruder, she actually helped him by eagerly opening the door. The criminal thus escaped effortlessly down the stairs, vanishing into the night. Staring at me lying in a pool of blood, my cousin didn't call for an ambulance. She went to change into clean clothes first. She casually applied some light makeup without hurry. Only then did she go to open the door for the police. When asked about casualties, she instinctively shook her head while deliberately blocking the kitchen doorway, obstructing the officer's line of sight. 3. Fortunately, the observant policewoman spotted traces of blood on the glass fragments. She pushed past my cousin into the kitchen and rescued me as I lay there barely clinging to life. She then turned off the gas stove and opened the kitchen window, thwarting the assailant's planned explosion. The policewoman rushed me to the hospital for emergency treatment. The remaining officers combed the crime scene for evidence while interrogating my cousin about the killer's appearance and distinguishing features. To my shock, my cousin lied about not getting a clear look at the perpetrator's face, with insufficient evidence to identify the culprit. My cousin merely went through the motions of cooperating while withholding crucial details. The case dragged on unsolved, eventually becoming a cold case, leaving me as the sole victim in this unresolved tragedy. My cousin deliberately concealed the casualties, causing me to miss the critical treatment window. Doctors said the blood clot in my brain compressed the nerves, resulting in dementia that even surgery couldn't restore to normal function. As a newly admitted Tsinghua University graduate student, I was supposed to have a bright future ahead, but one senseless tragedy destroyed my entire life. My parents refused to give up on me and brought me back to our hometown to care for me themselves. During that time, I kept fighting for justice online, rallying netizens to help track down the perpetrator. That brutal home invasion rape case caused a huge uproar across the internet. Later, my cousin became the village laughingstock, an old maid nobody would marry due to her tarnished reputation. She resents me for supposedly costing her a chance with that hot guy and ruining her reputation by calling the police. One day, a kind netizen contacted my parents claiming to have seen the assailant who hurt me. My parents immediately alerted the police while arranging to meet the informant at the station. Just when we worried about having no one to care for me, my cousin happened to drop by. Sitting by the door drooling over lychees, I simply thought my parents had sent someone to play with me. Beaming, I grabbed a handful of lychees to share with her, but she slapped away my offering in disgust, seized my throat, and shoved my head into the nearby foot-washing basin. The basin held only half a pan of water, yet it was enough to drown me alive. My spirit floated upward as I watched my parents collapse from grief, and in that moment my hatred for my cousin reached its peak. "Lillian, help me." My cousin's desperate cry snapped me out of the painful memory. I reached up to touch the back of my head. It was a perfectly round and full back of the head, without any sunken knife wounds. That's when I realized I'd been reborn. I'd traveled back 3 years, to the day my cousin was assaulted in her own home, for her bedroom was pitch black at that moment, and she had no idea her would-be attacker was actually a handsome man, so she screamed her lungs out begging me for help. How foolish I was in my past life. I actually risked my life for her. Fighting those thugs with a kitchen knife, not only did I end up with dementia, but she grew to resent me for it, eventually murdering me in cold blood. I didn't have God's perspective back then. My mind was completely focused on dealing with those criminals. I was completely unaware that my cousin had fallen for the criminal at first sight, thinking I was ruining her romantic moment the whole time. So her seemingly foolish interference was actually deliberate. She intentionally left me to die in the kitchen, lied during police interrogation, obstructed the officer's view, and ultimately murdered me. Every single absurd thing she's ever done, partly out of fear of the criminals, but mostly driven by her resentment and desire for revenge against me. She judges everything by appearances, with no room for compassion in that head of hers, just boy-crazy nonsense. This ungrateful, backstabbing behavior is probably too much even for the heavens to tolerate. So give me another chance. This time, even if those bastards kill her in bed or chop her into pieces, I won't lift a finger. Her screams were grating on my ears. In the past, those desperate cries would wrench my heart, driving me to save her without hesitation. Right now I'm just feeling so agitated. I put on my Bluetooth headphones and cranked the volume to max, chose an upbeat song to celebrate my rebirth. Good day. The uplifting melody clashed with my cousin's blood-curdling screams from the next room. Absolutely marvelous. In less than 10 minutes, the commotion next door suddenly quieted down. Fearing unexpected trouble, I grabbed a paper cup and pressed it against the wall to eavesdrop. My cousin sobbed as she pleaded with the assailant. Please, just let me go. My cousin is in the next room. She's 100 times prettier than me. I'll help you lure her out. She's got an amazing figure. Her words hit me like an ice bath, making my teeth chatter with rage. A chill ran down my spine as I realized, had this vile woman spoken these same words in a past life, had I not charged in with that kitchen knife, the consequences would have been far worse than just getting slashed by the assailant. The intruder seemed swayed by Vanessa's words, footsteps echoing from the living room. The front door opened and shut deliberately, creating the illusion of someone's departure. Suddenly, loud knocking echoed through my bedroom door. 5. After prolonged knocking went unanswered, Vanessa's furious shouts came from outside. Lillian, how long are you going to keep hiding? The bad guys are gone. Your sister got bullied and you just played dead. Now they're already gone. Hurry up and take me to the hospital already. I don't buy her lies. I only trust what I see with my own eyes. Through the door crack, I clearly saw two shadowy figures standing outside. The criminals never left. She tried to deceive me by claiming the criminals had left, then emotionally blackmailed me into taking her to the hospital. Opening that door would be like walking into the lion's den. The gruesome fate awaiting me goes without saying. No matter how much she sweet-talked or tried to coax me, I stood my ground without wavering. The bedroom door was securely locked anyway. There's no way the intruder could get in any time soon. Besides, I'd already called the police. The officers assured me they'd arrive as soon as possible. If I can just hold out until the police arrive, I'll be safe and change my fate of dying a tragic death like in my past life. But this alone is far from enough. The thugs outside aren't kind enough to let me off that easily. I took the initiative and pretended to believe Vanessa's lies. Why is the living room so dark? Let me change clothes first, then I'll take you to the hospital. Could you help me look for my glasses in the living room? I'm wearing my glasses. They were never in the living room. The whole excuse was just to get Vanessa to turn on the living room lights. The moment she turned on the light, she'd see her would-be rapist was actually a handsome guy. Truth was, the creep wasn't good-looking at all. Dark-skinned and scrawny, with a rat-like face, beady eyes, thin lips, and a hooked nose. The only thing going for him was his height, probably 6'3". But Vanessa's totally into this type. That's just how she is, letting her hormones override her morals. I bet she'd jump that criminal in a heartbeat if she knew. After all, she never got to sleep with that outlaw in her past life because of me, a regret that haunted her forever. Once the thug is busy dealing with her, he won't have time to bother me. My request didn't raise any suspicion between them. The thug wouldn't dare break down my door recklessly. With my phone in hand, he knew I'd call the police if things turned ugly. Sure enough, Vanessa paused and said, "No need to call the police, just minor injuries, but I'm scared being alone, so I asked you to stay with me. I'll go find your glasses now. Hurry up and get changed." The next second, one of the dark figures moved away from the doorway. The thug ordered Vanessa to turn on the lights while he lurked by the door, waiting to ambush his prey. Little did he know, he would soon become the hunted instead of the hunter. Light suddenly spilled through the bedroom door crack as the square energy-saving bulb flickered on, instantly flooding the living room with daylight-like brightness. Vanessa pretended to find her glasses and turned back to the door, calling for me to open it. She looked up only to come face-to-face with the man. She froze, staring at him in a daze for what felt like ages. The intruder was equally stunned. The creature before him defied all his previous understanding of women. 6. My cousin's beauty was beyond description. No words could do her justice. Let me share one of her experiences as an example. When we were kids, my cousin and I once went to help out at my uncle's pig farm. She wore a pinkish beige outfit. Before entering the pig pen, the worker leading us tied a red string around her wrist. He even fastened it with a bow. When it was my turn, he just gave me a glance. No words. No red string. My cousin got this special treatment and thought she was more popular than me. gloating about it the whole time while working. She was on cloud 9 for days afterward. I was indignant because I wanted that red ribbon bow too, so I sneaked off to ask that uncle why he played favorites. That's why they spoiled her rotten. From childhood, they indulged my cousin's every whim, granting nearly all her requests without refusal. They treated her like a princess, minus the royal beauty to match the title. Consequently, she kept striking out in the dating game. Everyone's wired to judge by appearances. My cousin adores handsome men, but those same men only have eyes for beauties. Yet Vanessa seemed blissfully unaware that she wasn't exactly a knockout herself. The sight of a good-looking guy made her gravitate toward him almost involuntarily. Without a second thought, she reached out and touched the mugger's face, but she was too short, barely reaching half the mugger's height. His face remained beyond her reach. So she settled for second best, groping for the mugger's other face. The thug thought darkness made all women equal, but daylight proved him wrong. 7. Vanessa batted her eyelashes at him, mimicking the cringy tone of a domineering CEO. Hey there, handsome, I'll give you another chance, let's keep going. The thug looked utterly exasperated as he grabbed Vanessa's sleeve and pushed her hand away, then desperately covered his crotch. As the two were locked in a standoff, from the bedroom, I deliberately asked Vanessa, cousin, did you find your glasses? Do you still need me to come out? She didn't respond. Instead, she nuzzled contentedly into the criminal's arms, even taking deep sniffs of his clothes, even with a knife at her throat and the assailant desperately pushing her away. Not a trace of fear showed on her face. In that moment, her heart held no terror, only an overwhelming desire to cling to the handsome stranger. The thug couldn't take it anymore and pushed her aside as he headed for the door. Seeing her prize about to slip away, Vanessa panicked instantly. She grabbed his arm and screamed hysterically, "You can't leave, you're still going to be my boyfriend, or I'll have my cousin call the cops on you." The thug stared at Vanessa in disbelief. Overwhelmed with bitter regret, he shoved Vanessa violently, trying to bolt for the door. Before he could even turn the doorknob, my sinister voice echoed from behind. "I've got your face on camera, try to run and I'll call the cops right now. Be smart, go inside with my cousin and finish what she started, or you'll be trading those clothes for prison stripes." The thug immediately abandoned his escape plan, staring at me wide-eyed with a pitiful look of utter despair. He clasped his hands together in supplication to Vanessa, begging for mercy. "Please, ma'am, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I'll wash my hands of this life and never do evil again. Cut me some slack since it's my first time, will you?" Tears welled in the man's eyes, his rims slightly reddened, his dark cheeks flushing with an earthy hue. This was the most vulnerable moment of his life. Little did he know, to Vanessa, a handsome man's tears were her ultimate stimulant. She couldn't resist pointing her phone at the thug, snapping what she thought was the perfect shot, then casually sent it to me. Waving the photo on her phone at the man, she said, "The terms have changed. I'm marrying you. If you refuse, my sister will send this photo to the police immediately." The criminal completely broke down upon hearing this. Vanessa dragged him back to the bedroom and forced herself on him. The disturbing noises next door continued for a full half hour. Vanessa secretly recorded a short video midway, just in case she might need it later. Afterward, Vanessa lit a cigarette and leaned against the headboard, puffing away contentedly. The man beside her looked as if his soul had been drained. He lay in her arms with ashen-faced despair, silently shedding tears of regret. The thug thought everything would be fine once he submitted to Vanessa, but just as they finished, frantic knocking erupted at the door. Sure enough, the police had arrived. 8. The thug scrambled off Vanessa's bed like a whipped dog. Not even bothering with clothes, under Vanessa's bewildered gaze, he frantically darted around like a headless fly searching for an escape route. But we lived on the 15th floor, all windows had security bars, leaving the door as the only exit. With no other choice, he steeled himself and made a desperate dash for the door, plowing through the officer blocking the doorway before making his escape. He had barely stepped out the door when he collided with a warm embrace. Several officers pinned him down, subduing him in just 10 seconds before slapping on a pair of handcuffs. Only after confirming the criminal's capture did I casually emerge from the bedroom. Upon learning I was the one who called the police and that no one was harmed, the officers took all three of us to the station for questioning. Seeing the once ruthless criminals now in such a pitiful state fills me with the profound relief of a second chance at life. In this lifetime, I won't just escape death. I'll repay every ounce of their debt in ways they'd never anticipate. During police questioning, Vanessa's behavior mirrored her past life with eerie similarity. Vanessa was love-struck, still clinging to Derek's arm like a lovesick fool. Even as the police questioned their relationship, she replied with hearts in her eyes, "He's my boyfriend, we're getting married soon." Had I not known better from past lives, I'd have seriously suspected Derek put some voodoo spell on her. Derek was utterly repulsed by Vanessa, repeatedly pushing her away with his hands, yet Vanessa clung to him like a spring-loaded leech. No matter how many times she was shoved off, she'd tirelessly latch back on with a vengeance. Finally Derek snapped, in front of the police. He punched her right in the eye when he couldn't take it anymore. The officers grew suspicious of Vanessa's story. After restraining Derek, they questioned her again about their relationship. They expected a different answer, but she just carelessly covered her eyes with her hands. Giggling, she said, "He really is my boyfriend. We were just horsing around. No big deal." The interrogating officer's vision went dark, forcing him to massage his temples with a bitter smile. They then summoned me to the interrogation room, hoping to extract new leads about the case. Before entering the interrogation room, I deliberately sought counsel from the female officer who was trying to calm me down. Setting aside the fact that Vanessa forcibly tipped Derek, the policewoman said if the case holds up in court, Derek's situation qualifies as attempted home invasion rape, carrying a baseline sentence of approximately 3 years. However, since he obtained the victim's forgiveness and demonstrated cooperative behavior, the sentence could be further reduced by about 50% from the 3-year baseline, meaning that scumbag who nearly hacked me to death in my past life, ruining all my prospects. In this lifetime, he'll serve at most 1.5 years in prison. With good behavior, he could even get parole or a reduced sentence. Then what about me, the version of me from our past life who became disabled after he caved in the back of my skull? Just my bad luck. I can't accept this injustice. There's no way I'll let him get off so easily, but past lives remain past lives. I can't exactly tell the police he crippled me in a previous incarnation. People would just think I'm crazy. Lost in thought, I caught a glimpse of Vanessa clinging to Derek and his numb expression before entering the interrogation room. At that moment, the tangled mess in my mind suddenly unraveled. Since Vanessa's so desperate to be with Derek, I'll grant her this wish. I'd like to see how she'll turn out in this life without me standing in her way. The officer asked me, what exactly is the relationship between Derek and Vanessa? Gripping the table with both hands, I stammered an apology. Sorry, officer. There seems to have been a misunderstanding that probably brought you here for nothing. Vanessa brought her boyfriend home without telling me, and they had a little argument. I mistakenly thought it was a burglar, but she just explained everything to me. Derek really is Vanessa's boyfriend. My mistake. In the end, the case fell through. Derek was acquitted. The moment he stepped out of the police station, he shook off Vanessa's arm and bolted. But what good would running do? I found his ID card. His ID card was half sticking out of his back pocket while he was tussling with Vanessa. I swiftly snatched it out. He didn't notice. What's more, Vanessa still had the video she'd just recorded. When I handed my ID to Vanessa, her eyes instantly lit up. Derek didn't get far before turning back obediently under Vanessa's threat. That video became evidence of Derek's home invasion and rape, while his lost ID gave Vanessa leverage over him. I went the extra mile and booked them a ride to the civil affairs office for their marriage registration. In this lifetime, with my help, Vanessa finally married the outlaw she fancied. Their real-life escapade played out like a home invasion romance, but selfish souls never feel gratitude for others' kindness. 9. Landed a new job in the neighboring city, 2 months left on the lease. That colleague was really kind, covered my last 2 months' rent before leaving. Vanessa had been idling away back in her hometown for months prior. Her daily mission was going on blind dates like crazy, but after 100 failed matches, it was always either her rejecting them or them rejecting her. She'd practically met every eligible bachelor within a 50-mile radius. Convinced city guys were hotter, she threw a tantrum to crash at my place when she heard I was interning downtown. I was dead set against it, but my aunt and uncle went crying to my parents. The older generation believes in helping family unconditionally, so they went ahead and agreed on my behalf. Her parents' plan was for her to find work here, so she wouldn't be looked down upon for being unemployed during matchmaking. They even slipped her a wad of cash to split rent and utilities with me. She showed up empty-handed and stayed nearly a month without chipping in for any expenses. When I asked her to split the utility bills, she just brushed it off, claiming she was broke. She orders takeout seafood or sushi for every meal, the doorways piled high with her food deliveries and packages. It's not that she didn't have money, she just chose to spend it elsewhere. After freeloading rent-free, she still wasn't satisfied. Now she actually wants to kick me out of my own rented place without paying a dime. How shameless. Of course I refused such an outrageous demand and instead told her to move out immediately. Knowing she was in the wrong, she pretended to agree and promised to leave before I got off work. But when I finally came home after working overtime all day, to my shock, all my belongings were haphazardly dumped by the doorway. The door locks had been changed. My key wouldn't turn at all. When I called Vanessa, she picked up but stayed silent, only her ragged breathing on the line. My hysterical accusations just became part of their twisted game with Derek. To make matters worse, she even started a video call. Right now they're getting intimate on my bed and grabbed the lube from my nightstand. Oh wait, that's actually glue. I transferred the super glue into an empty lube bottle a few days ago because the original container got dirty. I meant to give her a warning, but she hung up the phone, leaving me no chance to alert her. 10. Soon after, an ambulance pulled up outside our apartment building. A naked couple stuck together was carried out on a stretcher by male nurses struggling to suppress their laughter. That airhead Vanessa, instead of covering her hideous face to avoid tabloid exposure, she actually removed the jacket Derek had draped over her head, pointing at my face and screaming at me, "You did this on purpose, you jealous bitch. Can't stand seeing me with a hot boyfriend, can you, you motherfucking whore? Just wait till I'm out of here, I'll fucking end you." As her insults rained down, I silently wiped away my tears. Then the phone camera flipped, and my uncle's roar instantly blasted through the speaker, followed by my uncle's priceless expression like he just swallowed a fly. "You little bastard, who the hell are you trying to kill? You goddamn embarrassment. Just wait till I get there to break your legs." My uncle left the group video call immediately and booked the earliest high-speed train from the village to the hospital. My aunt was busy apologizing to my parents and me on Vanessa's behalf. Upon hearing Vanessa's insults, my parents initially tried to play the magnanimous elders and forgive her, but they simply couldn't bring themselves to pretend. The forced smile on his face looked even more pitiful than tears. Right now he regretted helping that ungrateful wretch Vanessa more than I did. The stretcher was carried to the apartment complex's courtyard. The crowd of rubbernecking onlookers kept growing. Thinking Vanessa's humiliation wasn't public enough, I borrowed the grocer's brass gong to really amplify her shame. The deafening gongs and drums around Vanessa drew all the elderly folks chatting in the courtyard over like moths to a flame, thinking it was a neighborhood wedding celebration. They eagerly gathered for what promised to be free entertainment, only to stumble upon an absolute train wreck of a scene. Several aunties flushed crimson with secondhand embarrassment, muttering complaints. Times have changed, and morals are declining. The elderly gentlemen calmly picked up their phones to document life's beautiful moments. The shameless couple on the stretcher lost their abusive bravado, looking utterly humiliated as if wishing the ground would swallow them. Only when the stretcher was loaded into the ambulance did they finally seem pardoned from their shame. Little did they know, the real storm was yet to come. 11. Vanessa was wheeled into the operating room. The doctors were confronted with such a shocking sight for the first time in their careers, completely at a loss about where to begin. They could only administer anesthesia first, then painstakingly remove the adhesive bit by bit. My uncle rushed to the hospital in record time. I stood at the hospital entrance to greet him. By the time he arrived, the surgery was nearly over, and the doctor smiled while reporting both patients were out of danger. During the waiting period, my uncle asked me to explain the whole incident. I told him everything with some dramatic embellishments, including but not limited to, my cousin showed up empty-handed, moved into my place, mooched off me for food and drinks, and refused to chip in for utilities or rent. When a home invader tried to assault her, she not only didn't resist but willingly slept with the intruder. I called the police to arrest the thug, but my cousin took his side and even demanded he marry her. She ignored my warnings, went behind my back to get a marriage certificate with him, then kicked me out of our rented place to turn it into their newlywed home. She changed the locks to lock me out. When I called begging her to open up, she ignored my calls while sleeping with that criminal in my own bed. They even used my glue as makeshift lube. How utterly humiliating. Finally, dabbing my tears with a tissue, I added, the operating room's green light flickered on, and my uncle sprang to his feet. He paced the hospital corridor, glancing around as if searching for something. A baseball bat as thick as my forearm accidentally tumbled out of my backpack. It rolled right to my uncle's feet. I was about to pick it up, but my uncle beat me to it. He grabbed the baseball bat, tested its weight in his hand, then strode into the operating room without a word. 12. My uncle was a military veteran who once killed a wild boar barehanded during mountain patrol. I followed closely into the operating room. Vanessa just came to her senses but refused to stay in bed and rest properly. Instead, she started demanding the nurses move her to share a bed with Derek. The nurse rolled her eyes in exasperation, sarcastically remarked, "After all the doctor's hard work separating you two, now you want to stick back together. Should have just stayed home then, could have been glued together for life." The uncle flushed crimson, feeling more humiliated than ever in his life. Shameless Vanessa kept yelling at the nurses, completely oblivious to her intimidating father looming behind her. Her uncle swung the baseball bat with full force, unleashing his rage on Vanessa. Vanessa shrieked in pain but couldn't leave the bed due to her injuries. Desperately burrowing under the covers, she still managed to scream for Derek's help. Derek didn't want to get involved, but Vanessa's screaming was giving him a headache. He reached out and grabbed the uncle's baseball bat. "Old man, stop hitting her." The uncle was already furious, and seeing the rapist who'd slept with his daughter made him see red. Vanessa was absolutely heartbroken. Vanessa's heartlessness completely blew my mind. She actually grabbed her dad's baseball bat and snapped, "Old man, stop hitting him. He's your son-in-law. Hit him again and I'll cut ties with you." Derek, seething from the beating, saw his uncle freeze and instantly wrested the weapon from his grasp. The two men grappled violently, sensing things were spiraling out of control. I rushed to pull Derek back, but failed to stop him. Vanessa actually grabbed her uncle's arm and clung to him, causing him to take several unnecessary hits from Derek. Heartbroken, the uncle severed ties with Vanessa on the spot, covering his bruised and swollen eye. He walked out of the operating room. He later lashed out at his wife at home, blaming her for spoiling Vanessa rotten. He even said he'd consider Vanessa dead to him from now on, that he no longer had a daughter. Though furious, Auntie was more concerned about Vanessa's injuries. Vanessa had planned to tough it out and give her parents the silent treatment for a while, but after her uncle left, the nurse informed her that her and Derek's surgery fees remained unpaid. 13. Vanessa had long blown through her cash stash and couldn't even scrape together $20. Derek was even worse off. The guy needed an 18-month installment plan just to afford braised chicken rice. His initial agreement to marry Vanessa, setting aside the coercion, stemmed from another ulterior motive. I'd tipped him off about Vanessa being an only child from a family with decent money. He was skeptical at first, but after seeing Vanessa routinely splurge hundreds on seafood feasts, it suddenly made sense. That's why he reluctantly married Vanessa in the end. Vanessa turned to me and asked to borrow money outright. "Lillian, we ended up in the hospital because of that glue from your room. This is entirely your fault, so you're paying the medical bills. Also, your brother-in-law and I are hungry. Go order 200 yuan worth of KFC for delivery." Her tone was utterly shameless and self-righteous. Hitting new lows of audacity, I gave her a cold laugh and showed her my bank balance. "There's tens of thousands in there, more than enough to cover their surgery costs." Her eyes lit up with a glimmer of hope. I cut her off sharply. "What's so funny? I'd rather toss this cash into a wishing well for turtles than spend a dime on you. No offense, just airing out my cash before it grows mold." With that, I walked away without a backward glance. Vanessa fumed, pounding the mattress and gnawing the sheets. Powerless against me, Derek couldn't take it anymore. He snatched her phone and scammed tens of thousands from loan apps, scraped together enough to cover the surgery fees. Vanessa gazed at Derek with admiration as he effortlessly solved the problem. A flicker of guilt crossed Derek's face before he calmly launched into explaining the benefits of online loans to Vanessa. "Your parents are getting old, and they're from the countryside. Steal their phones and take out a few million in online loans. Then we'll have the down payment for our dream home. You don't want to still be renting after we're married, do you?" Vanessa isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, and now she's love-struck. Her eyes automatically put Derek through a beauty filter, nodding along to whatever he said. She barely had any doubts, just casually asked, "But neither of us has a job. How are we supposed to pay back that much money?" Derek replied with absolute certainty, "Look, those lending platforms are all illegal loan sharks anyway. You don't actually have to pay back illegal debts. Besides, your parents are getting old. They won't be around much longer. Once someone's dead, debt collectors can't do squat." Vanessa took it at face value and hatched a plan with Derek. After recovering, she returned to her hometown and knelt before my aunt and uncle to apologize. She even lied, claiming she'd cut ties with that scumbag and would be their obedient daughter again. The elderly couple's anger soon melted away, and they showered their prodigal daughter with lavish meals. Vanessa secretly used their phones while they were asleep at night to download loan apps. During the day, she tricked them into facial recognition under the pretense of job hunting. Ultimately, she borrowed 1.2 million yuan. Derek demanded Vanessa transfer all the money to his account, claiming it was for their wedding home down payment. He was actually planning to take the money and run. Too bad I didn't let him have his way. 14. When Vanessa suddenly dropped everything to return home, I knew something fishy was going on, so I followed her back to her hometown. On the day she returned to the city, I brought some fruit to visit my uncle. I accidentally noticed loan app notifications popping up on his phone. At first, my uncle thought they were scam messages and ignored them, until I helped uncover they'd borrowed over $1 million through these apps. After my thorough questioning, they finally realized Vanessa had secretly used their phones to take out loans. They were so furious when they found out that they nearly passed out. Fortunately, the loan amount was within their means, so they had no choice but to cover Vanessa's massive debt first. I immediately called Vanessa to warn her that the loan scheme had been exposed, and she'd better return the money ASAP, otherwise her aunt and uncle would call the police on her. Vanessa panicked upon hearing this and rushed to demand money from Derek. Derek kept trying to sweet-talk her. "Don't listen to her. How can taking money from your own parents be called stealing? You're their only daughter. It's only natural for them to help you buy a house." Vanessa was still intoxicated by Derek's sweet talk. Seeing she wouldn't listen to reason, I decided to give her a wake-up call through actions. "I've called the police. They'll be at your place any minute now." Do you really trust Derek that much? Aren't you afraid he'll run off with all that money and find himself a wife 100 times prettier than you? The moment the police knocked on her door, Vanessa's eyes were finally opened, yet even after helping the police locate Derek, she still made excuses for him. Greed had taken hold of Derek after seeing over $1 million, and he stubbornly refused to return the money, revealing his true thuggish nature. He pulled out a dagger and held it to Vanessa's throat, forcing her out of the residential compound. Vanessa realized she'd been betrayed and nearly swindled out of over $1 million. Blinded by rage, she actually tried to wrestle the dagger from Derek's grasp. I blocked his retreat with a group of relatives. Trapped with no way out, Derek went berserk and slit Vanessa's throat, enraged beyond reason. Vanessa ignored the gushing wound and dragged Derek toward an oncoming truck. The truck driver couldn't brake in time, sending both bodies flying meters away. Vanessa died instantly. The truck impact severed her at the waist, cutting her body in half. A gruesome scene of mangled flesh and horrific injuries. Derek fared no better. With severe brain trauma and paralyzed legs, he became vegetative, spending the rest of my life confined to a hospital bed. The good news is, my aunt and uncle managed to recover that over 1 million yuan. They were completely disillusioned with Vanessa, so her death didn't cause them much grief. Though it still hurts, time will gradually heal all wounds. The even better news is they've willed all their property to me, to celebrate my grad school admission. They even gifted me a commuter car. Both scumbags who wronged me in this lifetime got exactly what they deserved. And their punishments were largely self-inflicted through their own greed. They helped me, only to seal their own fate in the fiery abyss. This time, I finally laid eyes on Tsinghua University's iconic gate. Sunlight filtered through the emerald canopy, dissolving the shadows of my past. I'm charging toward greater freedom. The end. Story 2. Father always favored my sister, giving her the best of everything. He splurged on a white tiger beastman for her, yet made me settle for the cheapest snow fox. Claiming it was for my own good, that I couldn't handle a powerful beastman. For the first time, I rebelled, choosing the notorious, temperamental snow wolf instead, for I knew when the scorching apocalypse came, the glacial tundra ruled by snow wolves would become humanity's last sanctuary. 1. On my sister's and my coming-of-age day, Father took us to select beastmen. Father spared no expense to acquire a mighty white tiger beastman for my sister. When it was my turn, he said there was no money left and told me to pick something cheap. I'd long grown accustomed to Father's favoritism. What could I expect? Sickly since childhood and nowhere near as pretty or charming as my sister, I never dared compete with my sister, knowing I'd lose no matter what. So when Father told me to pick something cheap, I didn't dare refuse, because refusal meant getting nothing at all. My sister's gaze was drawn to the frail white fox in the cage, and she eagerly pulled me over. Little sister, choose him, he looks so pitiful. Before I could even agree, she was already asking our father to pay. She knew I'd never dare, nor would I ever, refuse her. But this time, I shook off her hand and said with a smile, Sis, I've made my choice, and it's not him. My sister looked both stunned and displeased, her brows knitting together. How can you be so unreasonable? Father already said we can't afford it. You mustn't. Ignoring her, I pointed at the large iron cage in the corner and turned to my father. Father, that snow wolf is cheaper. I want him. Both my sister and father were baffled by my decision. Even my usually indifferent father tried to dissuade me. That snow wolf has a terrible reputation, wild and untamable. You'll never be able to control him. Yet I insisted. Father, I want the snow wolf. Little did they know, the snow wolf was the sovereign ruler of the glacial tundra, the last sanctuary for humanity when the scorching apocalypse arrives. Forming a pact with him would drastically increase my chances of survival. Father didn't object further. After all, we'd come to the exchange primarily to select a beastkin for my sister. I was just an afterthought. The snow wolf came cheap anyway, so he was happy to save some coins. The snow fox that had been playing dead in its cage suddenly looked up in shock, its fragile gaze shattering like glass. Lumi, are you abandoning me? So he had been reborn too? In my past life, I'd chosen this white fox on my sister's advice. I tended to his wounds with utmost care and devoted all my resources to his training, finally molded him into a formidable beastman rivaling the white tiger himself. Yet he began to scorn me, claiming I paled in comparison to my sister at every turn, unworthy to be his master. When the scorching apocalypse came, faced with an impossible choice, he chose to save my sister, leaving me to burn in the celestial flames. Only then did I realize he'd always loved her, resenting me for binding us together too soon, stealing his chance with her forever. If he loves her that much, who am I to stand in their way? I strode resolutely toward the snow wolf and asked, Will you come with me? His gaze remained defiant, regal as a monarch's. I expected him to refuse, after all. He was notorious at the Beastfolk Exchange for being difficult, all because he refused to form a life-death pact with humans and repeatedly attempted escapes. Those wounds were the marks of his failed escape attempts, but credit where it's due that Snow Wolf's stubbornness paid off. After countless failed attempts, he finally broke free. He returned to the glacial tundra and established a mighty orc kingdom, becoming humanity's equal rival. He studied me for a moment before finally saying, "I don't form life-death pacts with humans. Would you still take me with you under these terms?" I tentatively asked, "What about a soulmate bond instead? A life-death pact makes humans the masters and beastfolk the servants. The partner contract establishes an equal, strictly monogamous bond between both parties. In human-dominated societies, orcs have little bargaining power. Most end up as beast slaves to mankind." My words visibly startled him. It suddenly lunged at me from across the cage. Startling all the onlookers, I stood my ground without flinching, meeting his gaze with unwavering courage. A smirk finally played on his lips. "No regrets, not afraid I'll turn on you." I shook my head. "If you were truly deceitful, you wouldn't be bearing these wounds." He could have easily played the fox, feigning submission to exploit a kind woman's trust, draining her worth before casting her aside. His eyes flickered slightly as he scoffed. "Don't think sweet talk will work on me." I frowned. "So that's a no. Rejection's fine. It's not like he's my only option." Since I knew about the coming heat apocalypse, I'd reached the ice fields before him, with mighty beastmen by my side. Becoming the Glacier Lord isn't beyond my reach. Just as I averted my gaze to pick another target, the Snow Wolf's voice grew urgent. "Who said I refused? Once you've chosen me, your eyes belong to me alone." I stared at him in confusion, only to notice his slightly flushed ears and uneasy gaze. With a gentle smile, I reached out my hand. "Deal." Just as I was about to form a pact with the Snow Wolf, the Arctic Fox suddenly protested. "Lumi, you'll regret this. He despises humankind. He won't save you." Before I could speak, the Snow Wolf pulled me into his embrace and let out an earth-shaking roar at the Snow Fox. The Snow Fox immediately coughed up blood, its injuries worsening. The Snow Wolf finally spoke in a low voice. "Consider this a minor warning. Next time, vomiting blood will be the least of your problems." Without a care for the onlookers, they wrapped an arm around me and strode off. The Snow Fox let out a mournful cry of protest behind us. In the end, my sister took the Snow Fox home, where I kept her company alongside the White Tiger. 3. My sister seemed quite fond of it, too, yet I clearly remember, in our past life, elder sister always looked down on the Snow Fox. I never understood why she brought him home. Only now. The Snow Fox no longer dotes on her with undivided devotion. Instead, he keeps making a show of himself before me. He even traded the spirit stones elder sister gave him for a golden bracelet to gift me. It was identical to the one he gave my sister in our past life. In that previous life, I bent over backwards to please him, giving him all the meager resources I had. Yet he used the spirit stones I couldn't bear to spend to buy gifts for my sister. I remember on my sister's 19th birthday, he gifted her an extravagant golden bracelet, but it was also my birthday that day, and he gave me nothing, just a careless "I forgot" before turning away. I met his eager, hopeful gaze and coldly knocked the bracelet from his outstretched hands. "Bother me again, and I'll tell my sister. She has no patience for two-timing beastmen." I turned without hesitation, only to face the Snow Wolf's vicious snarl. The Snow Fox seemed to ignore my warning and stubbornly chased after me. "Lumi, can't you just give me one more chance?" Before I could respond, the Snow Wolf pulled me into his embrace and slashed at the fox with bared claws. The fox didn't even dodge. A crimson flower of blood bloomed instantly across its chest. He slumped to the ground, looking at me with pitiful eyes. I knew what he was hoping for. Yet I focused solely on checking Snow Wolf's injuries. "Your wounds haven't healed yet. How could you act so recklessly?" Snow Fox's face turned deathly pale in an instant. I ignored him, supporting the Snow Wolf as we walked away, leaving him standing there dumbfounded. After what felt like an eternity, the Snow Fox's desolate voice finally reached me from behind. "Lumi, you always loved me most. In the past, my heart would have ached unbearably, and I'd have rushed to him without a second thought. Yet my heart remained utterly unmoved, only finding him utterly irritating." So this is the vast difference between love and indifference. No wonder he couldn't stand me in our past life. In that instant, I felt a weight lift, my resentment toward him noticeably fading. Back in the room, the Snow Wolf suddenly pinned me down on the bed, insisting on completing the final step of our mating bond. Flustered, I quickly explained, "This ritual isn't mandatory. You have complete freedom with me. I only chose him as my insurance policy for surviving the apocalypse. I never truly wanted to be his partner. Do as you please, you're free to leave anytime." Only by leaving me could he unleash his full potential and conquer the frozen wilderness. But he seemed to misunderstand, his gaze turning dangerous as he asked, "Are you still thinking about that Snow Fox?" I was stunned and shook my head in denial. He stared out the window with a dangerous glint in his eyes. "Yet he seems to keep thinking about you. Is there something between you two that I don't know?" My brief silence seemed to enrage him. He lunged at me, pinning me down before sinking his teeth gently into my neck. "It's all right. I'll erase him completely from your heart. Just like this." His cool breath against my neck sent shivers down my spine. I tried to explain, but he silenced me with his lips. His cool lips and tongue swept in unhindered, throwing my mind and body into disarray. Damn, how is he this good? I couldn't help muttering to myself with growing irritation, suspecting he'd had considerable practice before me. Then in the next instant, he nipped my tongue sharply. Just as I was about to scold him, I felt his breath against my ear as he growled a warning. "If you keep zoning out, I'll punish you properly." His knee had just parted my thighs when the door burst open violently. A snow fox came flying backward, crashing heavily onto my floor, for the white tiger beastman charged in, and with a swipe of his claws, 5 deep gashes instantly appeared on the snow fox's body. My elder sister rushed over just in time to stop the white tiger. The snow wolf wrapped me tightly in a blanket and roared furiously, "Get out!" When my sister noticed the snow wolf's open collar revealing his chiseled muscles, her face flushed crimson with maidenly shyness. She deliberately turned her head away, yet couldn't resist stealing a glance. The white tiger's eyes turned blood red in an instant. Abandoning the snow fox to fixate on my snow wolf, his voice dropped to a predatory growl. "Talia is mine. Anyone who dares challenge me shall die." With that, he swung his razor-sharp claws at the snow wolf. The snow wolf, fearing I might get caught in the crossfire, crouched and shielded me with his body. Taking the brutal hit, pain instantly darkened his icy blue eyes to a stormy indigo as murderous intent surged forth. After shoving me aside, he lunged at the white tiger. When 2 powerful beastmen clashed, the sheer force of their battle was nothing to scoff at. Fearing the dire wolf might worsen its injuries, I threw on my coat and rushed out to intervene. My sister suddenly sneered. "So little sister chose the dire wolf for bedroom pleasures." Tisk. I had no time for her taunts. The dire wolf's safety was all that mattered, but no matter how I shouted, those 2 beastmen refused to back down. The elder sister sneered again. "The snow wolf is decent, but it's nowhere near as good as my white tiger." "Little sister, if the snow wolf gets killed, don't blame me." She made no move to stop them, instead watching the fierce battle with keen interest. The white tiger beastman fought with savage brutality, every strike aimed to kill. The snow wolf was already wounded, its movements sluggish as it retreated under relentless assault. The elder sister grew more triumphant, clapping her hands and shouting, "White tiger, finish him." But in the next instant, her smirk vanished. With a single frostbite spell, the snow wolf instantly froze the white tiger beastman into an ice sculpture. The surroundings fell deathly silent. Even the spectating snow fox stood frozen in shock, unable to snap out of it. I was somewhat taken aback myself. I knew the snow wolf was powerful, but never expected him to master such formidable ice magic this early. In my past life, it was only by chance that I obtained the frost pearl. Awakening the snow fox's spiritual power and mastering ice magic, TSK, what a lucky find. My sister's face contorted instantly, her once beautiful eyes now clouded with jealousy. Just then, father arrived. Upon hearing the commotion, the elder sister threw herself into her father's arms and sobbed, "Daddy, the white tiger was killed by little sister Snow Wolf. Make her give that Snow Wolf to me right now." So that was her game. She wanted to claim the Snow Wolf for herself, as always. Father showed blatant favoritism. Without even hearing the full story, he commanded me, "Terminate your contract with the Snow Wolf and give him to your sister as compensation." A glint of triumph flashed in sister's eyes as she pretended to be magnanimous. "Lumi, just hand over the Snow Wolf. I'll pay for you to pick another beastman." I scoffed. "No need. I have no intention of giving Snow Wolf to you. He's my beastman partner, not some tradable commodity." My sister looked stunned. This was already the second time I'd refused her, but she still wasn't used to it. Flushed with anger, "Lumi, have I been too lenient with you?" Without warning, she drew the whip she always carried and lashed it viciously toward me. Father made no move to intervene. In this house, I'm their punching bag. I can't even try to avoid it, because dodging only makes the beating worse. I shut my eyes, bracing for the whip slash, but the wait proved endless. When I opened my eyes, Maddox was gripping my sister's whip, growling with unmistakable menace. My sister stumbled backward in terror, collapsing onto the ground. Father flew into a rage. "You damned beast! How dare you bear fangs at your masters! Guards, take this Snow Wolf away and beat it to death." The orcs in the manor immediately sprang into action, surrounding Maddox. I stepped forward to shield him, mustering the courage to confront my father for the first time. "No one lays a finger on him. You'll have to kill me first." My sister had regained her composure, but seeing our deep bond only fueled her rage. "Father, Lumi has always been docile, but ever since encountering that orc, she's become utterly unruly. The orc must have bewitched her mind. That creature cannot be allowed to live. What she cannot possess, she'll never let me have either." Just like the kite I painstakingly crafted as a child, the moment she fancied it, she snatched it away. I refused to give it to her. She tore my kite to pieces right then and there. Not only did I lose my beloved kite, but I also got a brutal beating. From that day on, I never dared to argue with her over anything again, but this time, I won't back down. Father, don't hurt Maddox. I'll take him away and never set foot in Tianua City again. Father froze momentarily. Never thought I'd leave the human settlement of Tianua City for an orc's sake. 5. Beyond these borders lies nothing but treacherous wilderness. The wilds swarm with orcs who despise mankind. They'll tear any lone traveler limb from limb. When my sister heard I meant to exile myself, she urgently pleaded with Father. Father, she's clearly lost her senses. Let her have her way. Once she's suffered enough out there, she'll realize how well we've treated her. Father seemed hesitant. I suppose being his blood, he may not love me, but he doesn't wish me dead either, so he issued an ultimatum: give the orc to your sister, and neither he needs to die nor you need to leave. A smug smile spread across my sister's face as she tilted her chin up, clearly convinced I'd yield. Little sister, you should listen to Father. With your skills, leaving Tianua City would be suicide. How about I trade you the snow fox for it? My gaze fell upon the silent snow fox. I wonder how he felt upon hearing such words. My sister never saw orcs as equals. To her, they were lowly creatures fit only for servitude. The occasional kindness she showed them was merely to ensure their loyalty, yet to my surprise, he responded with eager delight. I'd gladly obey the young mistress' orders and trade places with the snow wolf. Seeing his eagerness, a flash of anger crossed her eyes. But the snow wolf fascinated her more, so she bit her tongue and said in a sickly sweet tone, I've put considerable effort into raising this snow fox. His worth now rivals the snow wolf's. Lumi, you should be content. I shot the snow fox a disgusted look. He's not even fit to polish Maddox's boots. A smirk tugged irresistibly at Maddox's lips, his striking blue eyes gleaming brighter than ever. The snow fox's face drained of color, its wounded body swaying unsteadily before nearly collapsing. My sister's face turned livid with rage. Father, I don't care what you say. She killed my white tiger. She must pay for this. Father's temper flared at my unyielding stance, his fleeting compassion vanishing like smoke. Then get the hell out of Skybliss City with him. From this moment, you're no daughter of mine. With that, he revoked the family crest and ordered guards to banish both Maddox and me from the city. I left without hesitation, not a single backward glance, for I knew the celestial flames would soon descend, turning Skybliss into a living hell. This time, I won't give my sister even a sliver of survival, because Maddox and I must reach the glacial tundra first, to claim the last untainted land in this post-cataclysm world. No sooner had we left the family estate than Maddox suddenly coughed up blood, staggered, and collapsed to his knees. Only then did I realize, though he'd won that battle, the victory came at a brutal cost. I'm fine. He wiped the blood from his mouth and gave me a weak smile. My heart clenched as I helped him up, ready to take him to the doctor. After handing the snow wolf to the physician, I set out to gather supplies. Horses, provisions, and water were essential, along with warm clothing and bedding for the glacial plains ahead. Just as I finished shopping and was about to return to Maddox, Snow Fox intercepted me on the way. I was ready to ignore him when I heard him say, Lumi, I'm giving you one last chance. Come with me. I'll protect you with my life this time. I narrowed my eyes at him, suddenly remembering the injured Maddox. I panicked. Move, but Snow Fox grabbed me. It's too late. He was killed by Talia. Snow Fox told me that Talia had people tailing us the moment Maddox and I stepped out. Seeing Maddox wounded, she bribed the physician to poison him. Not even 9 lives could have saved Maddox from this fate. At that moment, I could have killed someone. Then it hit me. Snow Wolf and I had a soul bond. If he died, I'd know instantly. I stole a glance at the mark on my wrist, still there, but I knew my sister too well. What she wanted, she'd stop at nothing to get. The snow fox appearing before me proves my sister did go after the snow wolf. She just couldn't bring herself to kill him. If I'm not mistaken, my sister must have taken the snow wolf back to our clan by now. Did my sister send you to kill me? The snow fox nodded, yet vowed earnestly. I would never harm you. I chuckled. Lennox, you really don't know my sister well enough. He looked at me in confusion. The next second, he coughed up blood and collapsed in agony. My sister emerged from the shadows with a smile, while Maddox was locked in the carriage cage. Lumi, you truly are my sister. No one understands me like you do. With that, she strode toward the snow fox and kicked him savagely several times. You worthless traitor, what good are you to me now? The snow fox begged desperately until she finally relented, then pointed at me. Kill her, and I'll spare your life. I couldn't help asking Talia, Sister, why do you hate me so much? Talia snorted, glancing at the unconscious Maddox in the cage before turning her gaze to the snow fox. Brimming with resentment, she spat, You worthless trash. How dare you be more popular than me? These 2 orcs are still utterly devoted to you. How infuriating, especially that snow wolf. He'd rather die than betray you. How can I tame him unless you're gone? As I looked at the snow wolf, warmth blossomed in my heart for the first time. This time, I finally made the right choice. Talia issued Snowfox another ultimatum: kill me immediately or be sent to the gladiator arena. So that's how it was, a fate worse than death itself. Snowfox looked at me with pity in his eyes, yet still unsheathed his claws toward me. I sneered. So this is what you call keeping me safe? His eyes reddened as he choked out, Lumi, I'm sorry. I promise it'll be quick. It won't hurt much. But they'd all underestimated me. I was no longer the fragile Lumi who couldn't even protect herself. My palm struck his chest, shattering his heart's meridians. 6. Watching the Snowfox convulse on the ground. My sister let out a terrified scream and turned to flee, but it was too late. With unnatural speed, I appeared behind her and seized her by the throat. The needles on my finger guards pierced her neck veins, injecting venom that instantly paralyzed her. My sister immediately screamed for help, ordering the family servants to kill me. I whispered a warning to her, Sister, you've been poisoned by me, only I possess the antidote. But don't worry, I'm not as cruel as you. This poison won't kill you. It'll just make your flesh rot until you become hideous. My sister cherished her beauty above all else. The thought of disfigurement terrified her more than death itself. At first she refused to believe it, but as the venom spread, angry rashes began erupting across her face. The itching became unbearable. She clotted her delicate skin uncontrollably, leaving bloody streaks across her face. Lumi, aren't you afraid father will kill you? I sneered. You're about to kill me anyway. What's left to fear? Kill me, and you'll stay hideous for the rest of your life. The choice between her beauty and my life was laughably obvious. Hand over the antidote, and I'll spare your life. She's still as domineering as ever. I shook my head. Release Maddox first. The antidote comes only after we've safely left Tianua City. She flew into a rage, hurling curses at me, unmoved. I tightened my grip around her throat. If you refuse, we'll die together. Too cowardly to face death, she finally yielded and ordered the cage opened. Maddox was merely unconscious, not in mortal danger. I had him carried to the carriage before forcing Talia to escort me out of the city. Only after reaching the outskirts did I begin to relax, kicked Talia out of the car and tossed her the antidote recipe. Take it daily, you'll be fine in a month. She snarled at me, you worthless piece of trash. I'll kill you sooner or later. I couldn't be bothered with her and sped off into the wilderness. Now the sky's the limit. No more being chained to my family, Maddox, and I raced nonstop toward the glacial tundra. The celestial fire descends in less than 6 months. I've still got a mountain of things to do. The glacial tundra currently lies unclaimed, yet numerous orc factions vie for dominance here, locked in constant skirmishes. Maddox and I have one primary mission: to put an end to this chaos. Fortunately, we've recruited quite a few orc allies along the way. In orc society, might makes right. Defeat them in combat, and they'll pledge allegiance to you. Maddox and I joined forces, leading these orcs straight to the territory of the strongest white tiger orc tribe in the glacial tundra. After 10 days of fierce battle, we finally emerged victorious. With the white tiger tribe's surrender, we became the most formidable force across the frozen plains. We then issued a decree: those who surrendered willingly would be spared, while those who resisted would be exiled. The weaker factions quickly surrendered, while those who resisted were beaten into submission. After unifying the glacial tundra, Maddox still wanted to lead the orcs into human territory to rescue their captured kin. I told him it wasn't necessary. He was utterly perplexed. That fateful night, celestial fire rained down without warning. The temperature soared relentlessly, melting even the fringes of glacial tundras. Countless humans and orcs perished in the inferno. Those who escaped the initial devastation later succumbed to starvation and dehydration under the unrelenting heat. Hordes of orcs and humans fled toward the glacial plains in desperate survival. I expected to see the Snowfox again, but he never appeared, yet my sister and father came anyway. Maddox and I had sealed off all access points to the glacial tundra early on. No one enters without permission, be they orc or man. It's not that we're heartless, turning a blind eye to those in need. 7. The glacial tundra simply can't sustain that many people. Letting everyone in would doom us all. Not to mention those refugees include dangerous criminals. A mass influx would throw the ice fields into chaos. I won't let my territory descend into anarchy. The guards reported my father and sister's arrival, asking whether to grant them entry. When I arrived at the entrance, my father was throwing a fit, berating the guards for their insolence in denying him entry. When my daughter arrives, I'll have every last one of you executed. You blind fools, do you really think an elder like me would lie to you? My sister, looking utterly disheveled, trailed behind our father while muttering complaints. Dad, why isn't Lumi here yet? Is she doing this on purpose? I'm literally melting. She's definitely still holding a grudge for you kicking her out. This is her revenge. My father wiped her sweat while reassuring her, "Don't worry, Lumi might be a bit slow, but she's always been a dutiful girl." My sister protested indignantly, "How is she well behaved? She nearly ruined my face back then," and Dad still took her side. "Dad plays favorites. All right, I promise when we see her, I'll give her a proper scolding to make it up to you." My father remained as doting on my sister as ever. I couldn't help but laugh hearing this. Then he ordered the guards. "Follow standard procedure. Those two troublemakers aren't to be let in." That day I stayed out of sight, watching the commotion from the shadows. Maddox came over and told me, "If you want to save your father, I won't stand in your way." He knew I'd been lonely since childhood, and that family was what I longed for most. Even though he despised my father, he still respected my choice. I shook my head faintly. "He doesn't need my saving, nor will I save him. Live or die, that's their own fate to decide." In my past life, the Snow Fox obtained 2 slots to enter the frozen plains. To ensure my sister's survival, father poisoned me, claiming I was terminally ill and wouldn't last in the snowfields, though the Snow Fox would have chosen her anyway. Father's betrayal shattered my heart. Am I not his daughter too? Don't I deserve to live? Any debt I owed for his upbringing was repaid in my past life. Not only will I refuse to save him, I'll watch as he and my sister writhe in agony. Even if they bribe the guards daily to beg for my mercy, I'll turn a deaf ear and never show my face. At first, father and sister basked in the refugees' admiration by flaunting their connection to me. Not only did they secure the prime spot, but people even brought them food and drinks unprompted, hoping to ride their coattails into the snowfields. But as time passed, even their staunchest supporters began having doubts. "You claim Lumi, ruler of the snowfields, is your kin. Prove it," my dad said with absolute conviction. "How could it be fake? She's my own flesh and blood." "Then why hasn't your daughter come to pick you up after 5 whole days?" Dad was furious too, but still managed an excuse. "She must not know about it yet. Had they known, they'd have come crawling to pay their respects to this old man long ago." Such words could intimidate people at first, but gradually lost their effect. Fewer and fewer people believed them. The closer to the snowfield, the lower the temperature. My father and sister held the prime spots, making many green with envy. Initially intimidated by their words, I believed they were family and didn't dare challenge them. Seeing my prolonged absence and the guards ignoring their claims, they dropped all pretense of civility. Dad and my sister got pushed to increasingly remote areas, struggling with food shortages and daily turf wars. You win some, you lose some. Losing means falling further behind. The further back you go, the hotter it gets, and the harder it becomes to endure. My sister, spoiled since childhood and unaccustomed to hardship, complained bitterly every single day. He picks fights at the drop of a hat, but her skills are rather mediocre. When she's outmatched, my father steps in. As the head of the household, my father is quite capable, but even he can't handle constant battles. To make matters worse, lacking proper clothing and food while being scorched by the intense heat, his injuries grew increasingly severe. Seeing our father was beyond help, my sister actually considered selling him to save herself. She'd heard rumors of a black flood dragon that craved human flesh. 1 pound of meat could be traded for equal measures of food and water. My sister was tempted, too cowardly to harm others. The sister turned her blade against their own father. "Father, don't blame me. With all these wounds, you'll die soon anyway. Let your death give me life. You've always loved me most. You wouldn't refuse me this, would you?" To prolong her survival, the sister didn't kill their father outright, first severing both his legs to barter for food and water. Father was tortured beyond endurance, cursed her for being unfilial, heartless, and worse than a beast. 8. Yet my sister kept eating the exchanged food, utterly indifferent. "Dad, I'm starving to death. How could you bear to see me suffer when you love me so much? If you must hate someone, hate Lumi. She left us to suffer here when she could have saved us. Don't worry, once I reach the glacial tundra, I'll find a way to overthrow her and kill her to avenge you." My father shed tears of bitter regret. In the end, he couldn't take it anymore. When my sister wasn't looking, he slit his own throat. My sister felt no grief at his death, only resentment that he died too soon. The scorching heat would spoil it within days, so we had to barter it for food immediately, but the traded food spoiled just as quickly. She still dragged our father's corpse to exchange for food and water. Little did she know, she'd become prey herself once separated from the group. The food was snatched away the moment she brought it back, outmatched in strength. She was taken captive as living provisions. Cursing and thrashing, she screamed, "Let me go. My sister rules the glacial tundra. Lay one finger on me and she'll have your heads." But no one believed her. The elder sister possessed striking beauty that had long drawn covetous gazes, yet while their father stood guard, those would-be suitors dared not act. Now she's like a lamb to the slaughter, completely at their mercy. Fortunately, my sister was adaptable. To survive, she willingly became their plaything. "Just give me food and water." And I'll do anything. Seeing her like this, I don't even have the heart to watch her suffer anymore. I doubt she can hold on much longer. To my surprise, my sister proved resourceful, not only surviving but also connecting with Maddox's long-lost brother, who took her into the glacial wilderness. Maddox's brother Sage bears a strong resemblance to him, though he doesn't seem particularly sharp. He confronted me aggressively, demanding justice for my sister. He said to Maddox right in front of me, "Brother, you can't keep this woman by your side. She's cold-hearted, scheming, and even caused her own father's death. Our wolf clan values loyalty above all. A woman like this isn't worthy to be your mate." Maddox had been overjoyed at finding his brother, but now his brows furrowed deeply at these words. "How did you end up with Talia?" Sage gave her sister a doting smile and pulled her into an embrace. "Bro, Talia and I went through hell together. She saved my life. I've decided to make her my life partner." My sister shot me a triumphant glance before resuming her delicate act, nestling into Sage's arms as she murmured timidly, "Sage, I told you they don't like me. Just getting me inside was kindness enough. I'd never dare hope to marry you." But Sage remained stubborn. "Don't talk nonsense. You're the one I've chosen." Then he glared at me with open hostility. "You're not the one who should leave. She is, bro, if you still consider me your brother. Get rid of this wicked woman." Maddox slapped him across the face so hard that Sage staggered back. "You're hitting me, bro." Sage stared at Maddox in shock. Smack. Without a word, Maddox slapped him again. Sage was even more bewildered. When Maddox raised his hand for a third strike, Sage finally blocked it. "Bro, have you lost it? Why are you hitting me?" Ignoring the protest, Maddox coldly ordered, "Apologize to Lumi, or get the hell out of Glacier Tundra." I raised an eyebrow slightly, somewhat surprised, because I knew exactly how much Maddox missed his younger brother. Before meeting Sage, he was practically trembling with nervous anticipation, insisting I accompany him, yet now he's throwing punches at his long-lost brother. For my sake, Sage was fuming with indignation, his eyes burning red with rage. He knew all too well how much Maddox valued brotherhood. "You hit me over some woman, bro, you've changed." Maddox's face darkened. I said, "Apologize. Don't make me repeat myself a third time." Sage gritted his teeth, snorted, and turned away sharply. "In your dreams." Maddox nodded slowly and actually ordered his men to throw Sage out. The elder sister immediately relented, dropping to her knees with a thud. "My lord, please don't drive Sage away. This is all my fault. Send me away instead. Don't let me come between brothers." "Sage, listen to your brother. Just leave me alone." She pretended to walk away. Sage yanked her back and roared at Maddox, "See how kind Talia is. Unlike that heartless woman by your side, utterly ruthless and inhuman, she's turned us brothers against each other, and you're still defending her. I'd rather die than let her keep manipulating you. Brother, I'll kill her first." With those words, he suddenly transformed into a beast and lunged at me. Maddox roared furiously and intercepted him. The two were locked in a fierce battle. My sister walked up to me with a smile. "Lumi, I told you, you're no match for me. All your scheming just paves the way for me. Sage is Maddox's only family. If Sage dies because of you, Maddox will never forgive you for the rest of his life. As long as Sage lives, he'll never let you stay in these frozen wastelands." I burst out laughing. I couldn't stop laughing. She shouted angrily, "What are you laughing at? Stop that." 9. I looked at her with pity. "You don't actually think I need Maddox to survive in these frozen wastes, do you?" She frowned. "Isn't that the case?" The white tiger beastman guard beside me spoke. "Lumi is the true ruler of the glacial tundra. Even Maddox and the rest of us must obey her commands." My sister was utterly shocked, yet remained unconvinced. "Impossible. You may hold the title of Lord, but without Maddox's support, you'd never maintain your position." I gazed at her nonchalantly and extended my palm, where a 9-petaled golden lotus materialized. She gasped in disbelief. "You've mastered the Lotus Divine Art." "The Lotus Divine Art is our ancestral secret technique, the very foundation of our family's legacy. My father only reached the 7th level, yet he became invincible across Tianua City. In my past life, I attained the 6th level, only to be poisoned by my own father. Even if the snow fox refused to save me, I wouldn't have met such a gruesome end. Yet through life and death, I've grasped the true essence of the Lotus Divine Art. Only by bonding with a beastkin as true companions, receiving their sincere devotion, can the Lotus Divine Art reach perfection." After I saved Maddox, he became utterly devoted to me, assisting my training with wholehearted dedication. My current power makes me invincible not just among humans, but even in the mighty orc realm. If Maddox betrays me, I can end him anytime. After the bitter lessons from my past life, I'll never entrust my life to anyone again. As a member of our family, sister naturally understands the mind of the Lotus Divine Technique, but she still wanted to take the gamble. "I don't believe it." She suddenly lunged at me, but with just a light push, she was sent flying backward, coughing up blood. She cried out for Sage. Sage immediately broke off from Maddox and rushed to her sister's side. His sister lay in his arms like a dying woman, whispering weakly, "Don't blame my sister, she just didn't want to be cast out. My death would be for the best." With that, he feigned unconsciousness. Sage went berserk and lunged at me, pathetically outmatched. I knocked him flat in seconds. Maddox just stood by watching. Sage refused to accept defeat and scrambled up to fight me again. 3 moves later, he was flat on the ground once more. After 3 humiliating rounds, he finally realized he stood no chance against me. "Bro," Sage could only whimper pitifully to Maddox for help. Maddox shrugged. "You can't even beat me. How do you expect to take on Lumi? I've told you before, the Frost Glacier is Lumi's domain." Sage asked plaintively, "How's that possible? This is clearly Orc territory." Maddox rolled his eyes. "More orcs doesn't mean it's Orc territory here. Orcs and humans are equals. If this were truly the orcs' domain, we wouldn't have let so many humans in." Sage asked, "Isn't that just because you spoil her, brother?" Maddox took my hand, knelt on one knee before me, and pressed a kiss to it. "For Wolfkin, this is a gesture of submission. She saved my life. If anyone's spoiling someone here, it's her spoiling me." Sage had no choice but to believe, yet he still couldn't accept it. She murdered her own sister and abandoned her father. "Do you really think she deserves our loyalty, brother?" Maddox sneered. "Have you grown soft after living among humans for too long? In the orc world, might makes right. Her strength alone qualifies her. Besides, how can you be sure that woman in your arms is telling the truth? If Lumi were truly that cruel, would those refugees outside still be alive? It's only because of Lumi's kindness that they receive food and water." Sage's face twisted with conflict as he looked down at his unconscious sister and asked, "But why would she leave Talia suffering out there?" Maddox gestured for someone to summon the Black Serpent. The moment the Black Serpent arrived, her sister dropped the act. "Lumi, you did this on purpose. You set me up." At last she realized the Black Serpent's cannibalism was nothing but a scheme against her. I knew father favored her. And I knew how selfish and cruel she was. Had she possessed even a shred of conscience, neither she nor father would have died. My gamble paid off. With her sole protector dead, her fate was sealed. "I'll never admit, sister, what nonsense are you spouting?" Yet I insisted. "Father, I want the snow wolf." "Me," she screamed and lunged at me, determined to take us both down. Maddox sent her flying with a single slap. "Throw her outside. No one is to give her food or water." Sage still hesitated, but Maddox cut him off with a warning. "If you can't bear to part with her, you can leave with her." Sage finally shut his mouth, muttering, "How could someone so beautiful be that cruel?" Maddox smacked him on the head. "Can't tell right from wrong. You're hopeless. Apologize to Lumi right now, or I'll still kick you out." Sage looked all pitiful, but eventually knelt down obediently to make amends. I wasn't really planning to hold it against him anyway. Maddox means the world to me, and I'm willing to accept his family, as long as Sage behaves himself. Fortunately, Sage isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but at least he learns from his mistakes. Only after learning the truth did he realize with regret that he'd been deceived. He came to apologize to me with genuine sincerity. He even volunteered to guard the entry points to atone for his mistakes. After my sister was banished from the glacial tundra, people shunned her like the plague. She ultimately perished from the scorching heat just beyond the ice fields. The celestial fires that had raged for decades finally began to wane. The surface temperatures gradually returned to normal. The apocalypse ended. Life flourished anew as humans and orcs emerged from the glacial tundra to rebuild their homes. A century of shared hardships had forged unbreakable bonds. Humans and orcs cast aside their enmity, joining hands to create a new era of peaceful coexistence. Statues of Maddox and I stand in every city square, eternal reminders for generations to come. Story 2, 10 days before the arrival of the zombie apocalypse, I was reborn. I immediately took my mother and started hoarding goods like crazy. When the zombie virus broke out, we would hide in the old house and not go out. In my previous life, my husband, along with my in-laws and his mistress, burst into the house and beat me and my mother to death. In this life, they still want to seek refuge with us. They're really daydreaming. I picked up the Juga repeating crossbow and aimed it at their heads. 1. There are still 10 days until the zombie virus breaks out. My father had just been buried, and I was staying with my mother in the old house, earnestly persuading her to go back to Jinqing with me to spend her old age. Otherwise, I really couldn't rest assured leaving her alone in our hometown. My mother didn't want to. She was being hesitant, saying that she wanted to stay here with my father, and that the chickens and ducks my father had raised before his death needed someone to feed them. Also, the fruit trees outside the door had already ripened, and she needed to contact someone to come and pick the fruits. I couldn't persuade her, so I could only stay here with her. During this time, My husband called me countless times urging me to go home, but I ignored him. After all, no matter how close my husband was, he couldn't be closer than my own mother. Unexpectedly, just 10 days later, news came that the zombie virus had broken out. My husband called me and said that there were zombies all downstairs in his place, and there were occasional explosion sounds. The air was filled with a pungent smell, and the food and drinks at home were almost gone. He asked me how things were on my side. I told him the truth. Things are okay on my side. I haven't seen any zombies outside, and there's plenty of food and drink at home. We can last for a few months without a problem. All right then, I don't have to worry about you anymore. My husband even heaved a sigh of relief, saying that he didn't have to worry about me now and that I didn't have to worry about him either, as he had his own way to deal with it. How could I not worry? I called him every now and then, but it seemed that the internet was down, and I couldn't get through no matter how many times I called. Just as I was getting really worried, on the 5th day after the zombie virus broke out, he suddenly appeared outside my house with my in-laws. I rushed to open the door, but it wasn't just him and my in-laws who came in. There was also the female neighbor upstairs and her 6-year-old son hiding behind them, too. I was very surprised. After all, we had some unpleasant experiences before. However, facing the apocalypse, I still let them in and was about to close the door. Unexpectedly, my mother-in-law suddenly stopped the door with her hand, grinned, and said to me, "Faith, don't blame me for being heartless. In this situation, there shouldn't be any useless things in the house." What? I didn't understand. My mother-in-law continued to tell me, "A hen that can't lay eggs should be thrown out to feed the zombies. If it wasn't for the fact that you're the only daughter in your family and you bought a house in the city, I wouldn't have let my son marry you. Why are you wasting your breath on her?" My husband pushed me out with a dark face. I struggled and shouted, "What are you doing? This is my house." "What do you mean your house? Once you're married and everything belongs to our family. You've been occupying our things for so many years and should have returned them long ago, Daisy. Don't just stand there and watch. Come and give me a hand. Let's throw her out to feed the zombies together. From now on, you'll be my daughter-in-law." My mother-in-law pulled me while shouting at the female neighbor upstairs. I then realized that they had already been having an affair. I was so angry that I roared, "Mark, have you lost your mind? You're going to push me out to feed the zombies for a woman with a 6-year-old child. Ha ha." The female neighbor upstairs suddenly burst into laughter, and my mother-in-law also grinned like a ghost. "Do you think everyone is like you, a hen that can't lay eggs? Leo is my real grandson. What are you doing?" My mother came at this moment and rushed over to save me from their hands. Unexpectedly, my father-in-law, who was standing aside, suddenly raised his hand, and the shovel hit the back of my mother's head heavily. "Mom!" I pounced on my mother to protect her, and the shovel hit my head heavily. Once, twice, 3 times, countless times, I fell to the ground. My husband hugged the female neighbor, and there was a ferocious smile of success on his face, like a ghost from hell dragging me into the endless darkness. 3. Mom, just come back to Jinqing with me. It was at this moment that I was suddenly reborn. Frames of the scenes before my rebirth flashed through my mind. Even the back of my head ached terribly, but when I touched it, there was no blood. And the sky outside the window was still a clear blue. Oh, I think it's quite nice to live here. Besides, the apples outside have already ripened. If I leave with you at this time, it's like throwing away money, and the chickens and ducks in the yard were all your father's hard work. I can't just leave them behind. My mother was still as hesitant as in my memory and refused to leave with me. In my previous life, I tried so hard to persuade her and even got angry, thinking that she didn't understand me as a daughter at all. Now I pounced on her and cried, "Mom, we won't leave. We'll stay here with Dad." "What? You definitely have to go back." My mother didn't agree. She could stay, but I couldn't. After all, I still had a home outside. She didn't know that the only home I had was the one with her in it. Looking at the date, there are still 10 days until the zombie virus breaks out, whether my mother believed me or not. I told her about my rebirth and also told her that there would be some people biting others in the next few days, and the zombie virus would suddenly break out after those incidents. It seemed that overnight, the whole world would fall. Then we need to hoard goods. My mother's first reaction was actually this. I was taken aback for a moment. "Mom, you believe me. Who else can I believe if I don't believe you?" My mother smiled and touched my head. "Your father is gone, and I only have you. Didn't the old saying go that a woman should obey her father at home, her husband after marriage, and her daughter in old age?" I really couldn't hold back my laughter. My mother was so witty, talking about obeying her daughter in old age. Anyway, this time, I definitely wouldn't make the same mistake again. By the way, I also had a very important thing to do, which was to find a real estate agent and directly sell my house in Jinqing at a 50% discount, of course. I also told the agent the situation directly. The house was bought before my marriage, now it's occupied by my husband and my in-laws. Please transfer the money directly to my card. I will entrust a lawyer to handle the transfer of ownership. You can deal with taking over the house by yourselves at that time. According to the current market situation, that house was worth at least over 3 million yuan. At a 50% discount, it only cost less than 2 million yuan. The agent transferred the down payment to my account that afternoon. I also contacted a lawyer and directly sent the power of attorney and the property ownership certificate over. Indeed, in the internet age, I didn't need to show up at all. Once the power of attorney and the property ownership certificate arrived, the transfer procedures could be completed. That night, my mother and I hardly slept. We carefully wrote down everything we needed to buy and do. Originally, I wanted to buy food and drinks online, but then I thought that there were only 4 or 5 courier stations in the town at the foot of the mountain. If a large number of packages were delivered there, it would definitely attract the attention of the store owners. When the apocalypse came, I was afraid that we would be targeted. It would be great if the courier station was ours. As soon as I told my mother about this concern, she laughed. This is easy, we can just buy one. A few days ago, I went down the mountain to pick up a package and happened to see that the store owner wanted to transfer the business. His son was admitted to a university in another place, and the couple wanted to follow him. I overheard that the whole transfer only cost 48,000 yuan, 5. Early the next morning, my mother went down the mountain and headed straight for the courier station. More than 2 hours later, my mother sent me a message. It's done. This courier station will be ours from now on. You can buy whatever you want, and don't worry about the store owner being nosy. This time, I could finally place orders boldly. First, I bought all kinds of antibiotics, disinfectant drugs, banlangen granules, etc., all in quantities enough for 5 years. Then I added rice, flour, cooking oil, and other things to the shopping cart. I also stocked up on white sugar, brown sugar, rock sugar, all in quantities of hundreds of caddies. After that, I stocked up on miscellaneous grains like mung beans, red beans, soybeans, etc., all in quantities of 50 caddies. Dried foods like yuba, black fungus, dried mushrooms, etc., were also essential, and I bought as many cured products like dried sausages, cured meat, salted fish, pickled vegetables, etc., as possible. Shall we buy some? My mother was shopping in the vegetable market and asked me if I wanted to buy some meat and vegetables to take home. I replied to her, you can buy enough for these few days, but don't buy too much to avoid attracting attention. As for other things, I will buy them online and we can transport them home after they are delivered to the courier station. The most urgent thing was to buy a small truck first. I bought a second-hand one, and the agent said that it would be delivered to me the next day. At that time, I would park it at the door of the courier station, let the delivery workers put my packages directly on the truck, and then I would transport them home at night, trying my best not to attract anyone's attention. At 9:30 in the morning, my mother came back on a small tricycle loaded with bags and boxes. I quickly went to help. Just as we finished unloading the goods, the workers who came to reinforce the fence, install the high-voltage line, and change the iron gate arrived. The iron gate also needed to be replaced. It not only had to be able to pass high-voltage electricity but also be explosion-proof. After all, in the apocalypse, the most terrifying things were often not the zombies but the beasts like my husband and his family. We had to guard against them. Our old house had 3 floors above ground and 1 floor underground, covering an area of more than 300 square meters, together with the yard. It was nearly 800 square meters. There were solar panels on the roof, and there was a room on the 3rd floor that served as a battery storage room. Since we were on a mountain and had installed photovoltaic panels, the battery capacity was quite large, so even if there was a power outage, it wouldn't affect our normal electricity use. Moreover, there was a well in the yard. The water was pumped from the well to the water storage tank on the roof and then supplied to the whole house, so we didn't have to worry about water and electricity. There was also a vegetable plot and a fish pond. There were chickens and ducks raised in the yard. In my previous life, we could live well even without hoarding goods. If it wasn't for my husband and those beasts, we could have survived for another 10 or 20 years. In short, this time, my mother and I would definitely be able to survive until the end of the apocalypse. As for those beasts, if they dared to show up again, I would definitely make sure they never left. Faith, the workers who came to pick the apples are here. Go and take a look. My mother was calling me. I responded and ran outside. We definitely wouldn't sell the apples. We would keep them all, process them, and then put them in the cold storage. In this way, in the next 2 years, my mother and I could have fresh apples even if we didn't go out. 6. Our cold storage was on the underground floor, covering an area of more than 50 square meters. In the past, the fruits that couldn't be sold out would be stored there first, and they could generally be kept for a year or two without any problem. After I arranged for the workers to process and pack the apples, they were directly carried into the cold storage. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the workers who came to decorate the freezer arrived. The people my mother found were quite reliable. After looking around the basement, they finally chose a room of 50 square meters and promised us that they could finish the work in at most 3 days. I calculated that there were still 9 days until the zombie outbreak. It would be too late to order fresh meat online after the freezer was completed. Early the next morning, I went to the courier station to keep watch, and my mother stayed at home to supervise the workers renovating the house. The credit limit of 120,000 yuan on a certain platform had been used up by me, mostly for buying dried goods, especially for things like black fungus, tremella mushrooms, and shiitake mushrooms, which were light and could be stored for a long time. I stocked up on them like crazy. I also stocked up a lot of black tea and green tea. My mother pays attention to keeping in good health. I also ordered several large boxes of Chinese wolfberries, red dates, and Astragalus membranaceus. I must keep my mother in good shape. Next, we needed to move towards sustainable development. After all, no one knew how long the zombie virus outbreak would last and when the national rescue would arrive, so things like rice seeds, vegetable seeds, and fertilizers were essential. Fortunately, my mother had experience in this area and wrote me a list, and I just needed to buy according to it. There were currently more than a dozen red carps in our fish pond. My mother asked the workers to use an excavator to expand it a little today. I directly placed an order online to buy fish fry. Tilapia was the easiest fish to raise that I knew. It often multiplied in large numbers, so I didn't consider other fish and just bought tilapia. I directly ordered 100 of them. I would throw them all into the fish pond. Once they were raised, we wouldn't have to worry about not having fish to eat. 7. I also wanted to get some weapons, but it was absolutely impossible to buy finished products online. So I spent half a day looking for alternatives and finally found one, the Juga repeating crossbow. After improvement, its firing range could reach about 100 meters, coupled with a laser sight and specially made all-steel crossbow arrows. It would definitely be useful in the apocalypse. I couldn't wait to imagine the scene where my husband and those beasts came to find me, and I would stand on the top floor and aim the Juga repeating crossbow at their heads. At 6:00 in the afternoon, my truck arrived. I test drove it and it was okay. I directly parked it at the door of the courier station. When my packages arrived, I directly threw them on the truck and would transport them home at night. It would definitely be done without anyone knowing. At a little past 9:00 in the evening, the workers had gone home to rest. My mother and I checked the list of things we needed to do that we had listed before. Reinforcing the fence, installing the power grid, changing the explosion-proof iron gate. These had all been done. The expansion of the fish pond had also been done. The freezer was still being built. According to the workers, it wouldn't even take 3 days. They could install the equipment tomorrow and test it. If there were no problems, it could be put into use directly. The progress is quite fast. I took a sip of water. Just then, my phone rang. It was a call from my husband, Mark, asking me when I would go back. I smiled. Soon. I'll stay with my mother for a few more days. Wife, your husband misses you. This scumbag, Mark. I never thought he was so greasy before. I rolled my eyes and didn't say anything. Every time this guy said something like this, he must have something to ask of me. Either he wanted money or there was some trouble with his family that he needed my help with. Sure enough, this guy said, Wife, Mom isn't feeling well. I'm going to take her to the hospital for a comprehensive checkup. 8. In the past, I would definitely have cared about what was wrong with my mother-in-law and then stupidly transferred several thousand or even tens of thousands of yuan over, telling him to take good care of my mother-in-law. Now I was indifferent. Oh, wife, there's no money in my card. Please transfer 8,000 yuan to me first. Mark saw that I didn't mention the money, so he had to bring it up on his own initiative. But even then, I still wouldn't give it to him. I forgot to tell you. My mom wasn't happy these few days. To make her happy, I took her out for a trip and bought her tens of thousands of yuan worth of jewelry at the gold store. Now there's no money in my card, and I was just about to ask you to transfer some to me. How could you do that? Just spend tens of thousands of yuan on your mom like that, and you even took her out to have fun. Heh, Faith, you're really something. That guy immediately got angry and shouted so loudly that my ears were ringing. I directly held the phone away from me and my face turned cold. What's wrong? What's wrong with me spending my own money to make my mom happy? If you want to spend money to make your mom happy, I won't say a word. Even if you want to spend money, you can't spend so much. Just because your mom was unhappy, you spent tens of thousands of yuan. Now my mom is not feeling well and there's no money to take her to the hospital for a checkup. What does that have to do with me? I was so speechless that I laughed. Don't you even understand the basic marriage law? Everyone takes care of their own mother. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being incompetent and not having the money to take your mom for a checkup. Instead of having the nerve to yell at me, I directly hung up the phone. What an unlucky thing. I was blind in my previous life to have picked such a scumbag. 9. Don't be angry. See what mom has prepared for you. My mom took out an ice cream from behind her mysteriously. My nose instantly turned sour. It used to be my dad who coaxed me like this. She never let me eat ice cream before, saying that it wasn't good for girls to eat too much cold food. After my dad passed away, I thought no one would ever coax me like this again. Why are you crying? When my mom saw me shedding tears, she quickly leaned over. Is the flavor of this ice cream not right? No. I snatched the ice cream. It's the vanilla flavor that I like. It's just that I thought no one would ever use an ice cream to coax me when I'm sad again. Silly girl. My mom rubbed my head, and her eyes also turned red. From now on, it will be just the two of us, mother and daughter, depending on each other. We should both try to be nicer to each other. Okay, I'll share half of this ice cream with you. I used to be reluctant to share half of it with my dad. My mom laughed with a sound and turned around to get a bowl to divide my ice cream. She really did divide it in half. There are still 7 days until the zombie virus breaks out. The packages I ordered have been arriving one after another. When unloading, I stood by and watched. When I saw that it was my package, I asked them to move it onto the truck. After we were done, I gave each of them a red envelope as a token of gratitude. After being tested by the workers, our cold storage was confirmed to be in good condition and could operate normally. I directly bought shelves online and then ordered fresh meat. I bought beef, mutton, venison, and even yak meat, all in quantities of hundreds of caddies. All these were delivered to my home by SF Express for free. However, I still filled in the address of the courier station. My mom was still at home. The apples hadn't been picked yet. Mainly, the processing and packing were quite troublesome, usually taking 3 to 5 days. My phone showed that Mark had called me more than 99 times and sent more than 30 messages. First, he said that I was being unreasonable. Since I was his wife, I shouldn't be so clear about dividing things with him. He also said that his mom was my mom and that we should treat them equally. 10. I ignored him. He then sent messages saying that we were all family, and forget it. He wouldn't argue with me. I still ignored him. He said, okay. Is it okay if I admit that your husband was wrong? You don't have to give me the money for now. I borrowed 8,000 yuan from my friends. You can pay me back when you have the money. I had the expression of the Metro Man looking at his phone meme. Why didn't I realize before that this guy had such a thick skin? Do I look like someone so cheap that he borrows money and I pay it back? I still couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him. The lawyer called and told me that the property ownership certificate and the power of attorney had arrived, and I could sign the contract with the real estate agent to handle the transfer of ownership at any time, since I had already told the agent that they could take over the house 6 days later. The lawyer asked me whether I wanted to wait a few days for the transfer or do it now. I said it didn't matter, as long as the date of taking over the house remained the same. The lawyer replied with an okay. The agent transferred the remaining payment to my account that afternoon, and the lawyer also informed me that the transfer procedures had been completed. Mark was still babbling, telling me to be satisfied with what I had and that his patience was limited. He said that since I had spent so much money on my mom, what was wrong with him losing his temper? In other families, not only would they lose their temper, but they would also tie their wives up and beat them half to death and even get a divorce. I replied, fine, let's get a divorce then. Mark, wife, I was just joking with you. I know you're in a bad mood because your father passed away. Look, come home, and your husband will take good care of you. I promise you'll be in a good mood again. I really felt like vomiting and blocked him again. 11. That night, I drove a full truckload of goods home. My mom and I unloaded the goods together. Things like rice, flour, cooking oil, and grains were really heavy. Fortunately, the warehouse was on the first floor, and there was an electric cart. I moved the goods from the truck, and my mom received them. The speed was relatively fast, mainly because there were so many goods. For example, for the rice, I bought it in bags of 10 kilograms each, with 5 bags in a box, and I bought 10 boxes. Just moving these 10 boxes made me out of breath. Fortunately, my mom was more capable than me. She not only received the goods but also pushed them to the warehouse to put them away without even catching her breath. She even mocked me, saying that a person in her 20s was not as capable as an old woman like her. I had nothing to say in response. Fortunately, the goods for tomorrow would be a bit better. They were all dried goods, like cured meat, dried sausages, and mushrooms, black fungus, etc. I didn't buy too much of the heavy things like mung beans, just about 100 caddies, compared to the rice and flour which weighed thousands of caddies. It was much easier. Early the next morning, my mom was still at home, directing the workers to pick the apples, and I went to the courier station to receive the goods. The 5 all-steel improved sugar repeating crossbows that I ordered arrived. The store also gave me 100 wooden arrows. Although they were made of wood, I tried them out and found that they could directly penetrate a mineral water bottle. If they were replaced with steel arrowheads, they could definitely shoot through someone's head. According to the dimensions given by the store, I contacted another seller and ordered 5,000 fine steel sharp arrows, and I told them it was for fishing. With the zombie apocalypse approaching, these 5,000 arrows were definitely not enough, so I changed to several other stores, all with the same dimensions, the same fine steel sharp arrows, and the same quantity of 5,000. I made it clear that they must deliver the goods within 3 days, otherwise I would cancel the order directly. When I got home at night, I used my mom's phone to order 10 more Juga repeating crossbows, and then I customized 30,000 fine steel sharp arrows from another store. Anyway, these things wouldn't break, and it was always better to have more. In short, if that scumbag dares to come, I'll shoot his head off. 12. That night, I specifically stood on the rooftop to test the power of the Juga repeating crossbow. The laser sight was especially useful at night. With very high accuracy, it could penetrate a mineral water bottle placed more than 10 meters away outside the yard. If it were replaced with fine steel sharp arrows, the lethality should be even greater. In short, I was very satisfied with the effect. I gave the store a 5-star review. There are still 5 days until the zombie virus breaks out. The fresh meat that I ordered finally arrived. SF Express directly delivered a large truckload of it. I really wanted them to directly deliver the goods to my home and then move them into the cold storage. However, considering that people's hearts were unpredictable, I endured it. It would be tiring, but the most important thing was safety. In short, my mom and I were almost exhausted that night. After all, the cold storage was in the basement. Although there was an elevator, carrying thousands of caddies of fresh meat back and forth still made our hands and feet tremble. My mom even had a backache. I directly picked up my phone and placed an order for 2 massage chairs that cost more than 80,000 yuan each. Anyway, with the apocalypse coming, money that wasn't spent was just a number. In short, I would spend it until I was satisfied. Thinking of being satisfied, I almost jumped up. In my previous life, although my mom and I were safe at home, there was no internet, and we couldn't even watch TV. My mom was so bored that she even took out the little king of video games and wanted to play games with me. This time, I must arrange the entertainment items properly. I bought 2 computers that cost more than 70,000 yuan each, 1 PS5. And 2 extra game controllers in case the original 2 broke and couldn't be replaced. I also directly ordered 50 18T hard drives. On the day they arrived, I filled them all with single-player games, movies, variety shows, TV dramas, etc. It would be so great to munch on sunflower seeds and binge-watch shows when I had nothing to do. 13. There are still 3 days until the zombie virus breaks out. The last package I ordered also arrived. It was a box of lush mint, and I planned to plant it in the yard. I could pick some and make mint tea when I had time. On the door of the courier store, I pasted a notice saying that it would be closed for 5 days for renovation. My mom got up especially early and went to the market with me. The town was quite lively, especially the vegetable market. We bought more than 10 caddies of fish and shrimp. Just then, we saw a vendor selling watermelons and directly bought 10 watermelons and piled them on the small tricycle. We didn't buy anything else. After all, I had already bought all the food, drinks, including medicine and daily necessities, online. I even bought dozens of boxes of military rations that claimed to have a shelf life of 20 years. Generally speaking, as long as there were no accidents, my mom and I could survive for a lifetime. After coming back from the market, I drove the rented excavator and dug 2 big pits that were 2 meters deep on the road in front of my house. Then I parked the excavator and the truck horizontally in the middle of the road. From then on, we stayed indoors and didn't go out. Our computers were still downloading things like crazy. My mom was busy in the kitchen, saying that she was going to cook a big meal. I was browsing my phone and saw that a certain country was protesting again that there were problems with the blood products of the United States. The patients who used the blood products not only lost consciousness but also showed aggressive behavior. Our country had already stopped importing blood products from the United States. In my previous life, I had also seen such news and just swiped past it without thinking much. This time, I clicked in, and a comment caught my attention. Losing consciousness and being aggressive, wasn't that just like zombies? Was it possible that those blood products carried the zombie virus? Could it be another biochemical weapon developed by the United States? It was true that the zombie virus outbreak was very sudden. If the blood products really contained the zombie virus, then the people who had used them would become carriers of the zombie virus, before the carriers got sick, if they had contact with others, such as intimate behaviors like kissing. It was very likely that they would spread the virus. That's why the outbreak was so rapid. I heard that many couples mutated into zombies at once and then pounced on their children and parents, resulting in the whole family being wiped out. 14. Ding-ling-a-ling. I was woken up by the ringtone of my phone early in the morning. It was a call from an unknown number. When I looked again, Mark's blocked number had called more than 99 times. This number must also be from him. I didn't answer and directly blocked it. There were more than 99 messages on WeChat and SMS. Mark asked me why someone came to take over the house and if I had sold the house. After that, there were all kinds of curses, saying that I was crazy and sold the house secretly without telling him. Finally, he also said, "You just wait for me." This was a blatant threat. I picked up the Juga repeating crossbow and shot 6 arrows at the target. Without using the laser sight, my accuracy was getting higher and higher, so even if they came during the day, I was confident that I could shoot their heads off at once. In my previous life, 5 days after the zombie virus broke out, they appeared outside my house. I don't know if he will be on time in this life. Anyway, no matter whether it's early or late, the Juga repeating crossbow in my hand is not something to be trifled with. There were more and more videos of people biting others on the internet, and they all said that it was the rabies virus breaking out. I knew that the dormant zombie virus was starting to run rampant. Sure enough, the next morning, the whole internet was filled with news of zombies attacking humans. My phone showed more than 99 missed calls, all from Mark. He sent a message saying that the zombie virus had broken out and told me not to go out. He also said that since I sold the house, they had nowhere to go and could only hide in the neighbor's house, and they didn't have any food left. In my previous life, because I was worried, I kept calling him, asking all kinds of questions, and he even got annoyed with me. Now I didn't reply at all. He probably felt embarrassed or the internet was cut off, and he didn't send me any more messages. 15. On the 10th day after my rebirth, the zombie virus broke out. The whole internet was filled with bloody pictures of zombies biting people. We were on a mountain, and it was originally a place where few people went, so we hadn't found any zombies yet. However, I suddenly thought that I could attract more zombies on the way up the mountain. "Mom, I'm going out for a while." I took the car keys and grabbed the Juga repeating crossbow and rushed out. My mom said behind me, "Where are you going? It's dangerous outside." "I know. I'll be back soon." The second-hand truck that I bought before was now parked horizontally outside the courtyard. I got in the car, turned around, and drove out. I stopped the car without turning off the engine near the middle of the mountain. I used a heavy object and adhesive tape to make the horn keep blaring. Then I got out of the car with the Juga repeating crossbow and ran out. The truck was blocking the middle of the road, and with sufficient battery power, it could keep making noise for several days, which would attract the zombies. It wouldn't be as easy for that guy Mark to come up the mountain as it was in my previous life. I ran up the mountain out of breath and found that my mom was standing at the gate of the courtyard looking around. When she saw me, her eyes instantly turned red, and she shouted at the top of her lungs, "Hurry up and come in, you child. How could you run out when it's so dangerous?" As soon as I got close, my mom pulled me into the courtyard, and my butt immediately got a few slaps. After she closed the door properly, my butt got a few more slaps, and she was scolding me while hitting me. "Let you run out, let you be disobedient. What if something suddenly came out and bit you?" I wasn't bitten, Mom. You don't even know what a great thing I've done." After I told her my plan of attracting zombies to guard our gate, my mom poked my forehead hard with her finger. In any case, don't do it again next time. "Come on, I've cooked your favorite braised pork and braised prawns in oil." Great. As a mama's girl, I immediately followed her happily. After I finished my meal, the car was still making noise. I couldn't hear it very clearly in the room, but when I stood on the rooftop, I could clearly hear the sound of the horn. I looked through the telescope for a while and saw a few staggering and extremely slow-moving zombies at the end of the road walking towards the car. 16. The plan was successful. I couldn't wait to see the scene of that guy Mark seeing such a large group of zombies blocking the road. The second day after the zombie virus broke out, the truck's horn was still blaring, and there was no sign of it stopping. Through the telescope, I saw that there were densely packed zombies around the car. Some of them were trying to walk up the mountain in 2s and 3s, but they didn't go far before they were called back by the sound of the car's horn. The internet was cut off in most areas online, but it was still working on my side, and the computer was still downloading things like crazy. My mother stopped looking at her phone, saying that all she scrolled through were pictures of zombies biting people. It was so disgusting that it gave her nightmares at night. She thought it would be better not to look at it and that binge-watching dramas was more enjoyable. She likes binge-watching dramas, and I like practicing with the crossbow. I'm getting more and more proficient with the Juga repeating crossbow in my hand. It's a pity that there are no zombies outside the courtyard yet, otherwise, I could have a real practice and see if I can also hit a moving target with one shot with my skills. In the afternoon of the third day after the zombie virus broke out, I was observing the zombies near the truck on the rooftop with a telescope when I suddenly saw a small car driving in at the end of the road. It was Mark. This time, he came 2 days earlier than in my previous life. Fortunately, I had made preparations in advance, and their car couldn't get through. At the end of the road, the car slowly stopped. I guess they saw the densely packed zombies in front and the truck blocking the middle of the road. The location I chose was particularly good. Since the road itself wasn't wide, it could only accommodate 2 small cars driving side by side. There were big trees on both sides of the road, and my truck was still parked horizontally in the middle of the road. It could be said to be blocked tightly, unless they got out of the car and walked. They couldn't go up the mountain. 17, Mom, look, it's Mark and the others. How could I let my mom miss such an exciting scene? I directly called her up to the rooftop to eat melon seeds and watch the show together. The car still hadn't driven away. I guess they were still not giving up, my mom said. It's blocked like this. He wouldn't still want to go up the mountain, would he? Daughter, how's your practice with that crossbow? Can you take them out instantly? Me. The probability is higher at night. I'm not too sure about during the day, my mom. If you can't take them out instantly, then shoot them full of holes. These beasts treated us like that in the previous life. Shooting them full of holes wouldn't even relieve my anger. Ding-ling-a-ling. My phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. I had a hunch that it was that guy Mark calling. With the mentality of watching a good show, I pressed the speakerphone button. Immediately, a voice came from the other end of the phone. Wife, you finally answered the phone. Your husband is about to die. Oh, then hurry up and die. I directly laughed out loud. Mark's heavy breathing on the other end of the phone was so clear. I guess he was struggling hard to suppress his anger. It was really difficult for him. Wife, don't be joking. Your husband is on the way to your house now, right here on the halfway up the mountain. The road is blocked. Do you have any way to let your husband pass? As long as your husband is alive, he will love you well and spoil you for a lifetime. Okay, he lowered his voice. I don't know if he was afraid that the zombies would hear or if he was deliberately making that bubbly voice. It was so greasy that it made my scalp tingle. Me, tisk tsk tsk, what should I do? I only like a dead husband. Faith, don't go too far. Now is a matter of life and death. Can you think of a way to let me pass and we can talk about other things later? Mom and Dad are still in my car. They've always been nice to you. Do you have the heart to watch them be bitten to death by zombies? Mark got angry for a moment, just for a moment. His voice got lower and lower as he spoke. I guess he was afraid of attracting the attention of the zombies. If it were in my previous life, I would definitely let them in the house without saying a word, but now I just want to see the zombies bite them to pieces. So I laughed even louder. I have the heart. Why wouldn't I? It's not just your parents in your car, right? There should also be the female neighbor upstairs. Oh, and your dear son, Mark. Your whole family really loves each other. Even if you die, you have to die together. I'm really happy for you. 18. How could you know? Mark's tone was very bad, and my tone was even worse. Of course it's because your female neighbor showed off to me. She said that I'm a hen that can't lay eggs, that the little fatty is the real offspring of your family. Oh, and she told me not to occupy the position without doing anything. I didn't say that to her. The female neighbor's tone was full of panic. I heard the sound of slaps, and the wailing cry of the little fatty. The phone seemed to have fallen, but it wasn't hung up. I could hear my father-in-law's shout, "Drive quickly, those zombies are coming." My mom and I picked up the binoculars simultaneously. The zombies were charging towards their car. Although Mark had turned the car around in time, he was still a little late. The zombies had come surging forward and surrounded them completely. My mom and I picked up the telescope at the same time. The zombies were rushing towards their car. Although Mark had turned the car around in time, it was still a little too late. The zombies had swarmed around them and surrounded them tightly. I could hear their terrified screams on the phone, especially the little fatty. His wailing cry was intense. Mark shouted at him to stop crying, but instead of stopping, he let out an even more ear-piercing and shrill cry. I directly laughed out loud. After all, I had experienced this sound before. Last month, I was still at home, in the middle of the night. The little fatty was playing ball upstairs. I went to knock on the door and asked them to be as quiet as possible since everyone needed to rest. As a result, the female neighbor rolled her eyes at me. The little fatty was even more excessive. Just like now, he was shouting at the top of his lungs with a shrill cry. I asked the female neighbor to take care of it, but she sneered at me and said that I didn't understand because I hadn't had a child. I should just let him shout, and he would naturally stop when he was tired. I argued with her, and Mark's family took her side. They pulled me home and scolded me for being unreasonable, saying that children were naughty and that adults shouldn't be so petty. They even accused me of going to their door to pick a fight because I was jealous that I couldn't have a child. Now I have to say, the little fatty's cry is really pleasant to hear. All right, my little god, stop crying. This was my mother-in-law's voice. In the previous life, she pointed at my nose and called me a hen that couldn't lay eggs. She also said that the little fatty was the real offspring of their family, and that a useless person like me who couldn't lay eggs should be thrown out to feed the zombies. Now she was begging her precious offspring to stop crying. Her precious offspring became even more complacent and cried even more shrilly. It was so ear-piercing that I could hear it clearly on my phone, through the telescope. Because of the little fatty's howl, more and more zombies were gathering. Some of them were even pressing against the front window glass and making all kinds of close-range attacks. 19. Damn it, shut up for me, Mark's angry roar, and a loud slap. My mother-in-law, ouch, talk nicely, don't hit him, The little fatty had just quieted down. As soon as my mother-in-law spoke, the little fatty howled again and shouted, I want to get out of the car, I don't want to stay in here, damn it percent you and hashtag you and hashtag you and percent, Mark cursed very harshly. I didn't know what he did, I only heard the little fatty making a whimpering sound, and my mother-in-law's shout, don't cover his mouth so hard, let go, hurry up and let go, don't suffocate him. If he keeps crying, we'll all die. Mark's voice was hoarse, but at last, there was no more howling from the little fatty. The horn of the truck over there was still blaring. After there was no more noise here, the zombies would naturally walk towards the truck, and they could escape unscathed. I watched through the telescope as the zombies gradually walked back towards the truck. I was quite disappointed. Why didn't the little fatty cry for a while longer? More zombies could have come. Overturned their car, or squeezed the car window glass until it burst. It would have been great to wipe them out all at once. The car started again and drove out of sight directly. The phone hadn't been hung up yet. I could hear their sighs of relief after surviving the disaster. Suddenly, my mother-in-law let out a howl. Leo, what's wrong with you? The female neighbor, Leo, wake up. My mother-in-law let out a heart-rending howl. My Leo, you killed my son. The female neighbor also let out a howl. Mark's roar, shut up all of you, do you want to attract the zombies again? In that situation just now, if he kept crying, could we have gotten away? Do you want to all die there? It's all that bitch Faith's fault, she killed my son, when I find her, I'll skin her alive. Mark's vicious voice came from the other end of the phone, my scalp tingled. Clearly, he was the one who suffocated his own son to death, yet he could actually blame it on me. I also wanted to see whether he would skin me or I would shoot his head off this time. 20. The truck had sufficient battery power, and the horn had been blaring for 4 days and was still making noise. Early in the morning, I stood on the rooftop with a telescope to check the situation. There were no zombies around the courtyard. There were more and more zombies near the truck, even at the end of the road. There were zombies staggering around. I even saw several workers who had picked apples for us before, and they had actually all turned into zombies. I felt a bit uncomfortable. I put down the telescope and took out my phone, only to find that there was no signal. On the 4th day of the apocalypse, the internet was also cut off here. My mom could only use the hard drive to binge-watch dramas. Fortunately, we had been downloading at full internet speed these days, and the hard drives we bought were already full. In short, we didn't have to worry about not having dramas to watch, movies to see, or games to play in the next few years. If worst came to worst, we still had the little king of video games. My mom made a cake. As soon as I came down from the rooftop, she brought out the freshly baked cake. It smelled so good, paired with a cup of coconut milk coffee. It was simply perfect. Daughter, what do you want to eat for lunch? Mom will make it for you. My mom handed me the tablet, which was full of pictures of delicious food, such as salt and pepper mantis shrimp, spicy stir-fried crabs, honey-glazed chicken wings, crispy streaky pork, garlic-flavored roasted lamb chops, big skewers of beef. It was simply amazing. I asked my mom, can I order whatever I want? Yeah, order whatever you want. Mom can make it for you. My mom was simply amazing. She was a treasure of a mom. I immediately said, spicy stir-fried crabs, garlic-flavored roasted lamb chops, and honey-glazed chicken wings. For the drink, I want watermelon coconut milk. Mom, would it be too much if I said I wanted a dessert too? Vanilla ice cream. My mom poked my forehead. Okay, Mom will satisfy you. Mom, I love you to death. I threw myself into my mom's arms and gave her a loud kiss. This wasn't the apocalypse at all. This was clearly the happy life of this mama's girl. 21. I don't know where Mark and the others have gone or if they're even dead. After the truck honked for 7 days, it stopped making noise. Those zombies scattered everywhere. Many of them fell into the 2 big pits I dug, and some were wandering around outside the courtyard in 2s and 3s. I originally wanted to shoot them. I had already aimed at them when I realized that shooting one zombie with one shot in zombie movies only looked very satisfying, after experiencing it myself. I knew that just aiming at the head of something that used to be human was enough to make me feel physically uncomfortable. Forget it, I might as well keep them to guard the door. The hens in the courtyard laid eggs. Now, the 6 hens can lay 3 or 4 eggs every day, and there is also a rooster that crows every morning. I was originally worried that it might attract the zombies outside the courtyard, but I found that the zombies were just swaying against the wall. After the rooster stopped crowing, they dispersed. There was no danger, and it could even attract them to wander around nearby. The effect of guarding the door was excellent, so I didn't care about it anymore. The chives I planted sprouted. My mom said that chives grew well, especially when it rained. They grew very fast. After cutting one batch, they would grow again. I said that it was just like stock investors. When there was good news, they would rise rapidly. And there would always be more batches to cut, and they could never be completely cut off. My mom, so you must never invest in stocks. Your dad's former boss was on the verge of jumping off a building because of stock losses back then. I heard that he's at it again recently and has lost several million. His wife has even run away. Me, I can't invest in stocks even if I want to now. Mom, besides chives, what other vegetables grow well? My mom, there are plenty. For example, water spinach. Look, the mint that you always like to use to make tea also grows very well. You basically don't need to take much care of it, and it will be lush. You even have to cut a batch every now and then to feed the chickens, otherwise, you won't be able to finish eating it at all. Then I'll eat more and not give it to the chickens. I smiled slyly, picked up the bucket, and went to look at the fish. Basically, all the fish fry that I released before had survived. I just need to throw some fish feed in every day. By the time the fish in the refrigerator are finished, these little fish fry will be big enough to eat. It couldn't be more wonderful. 22. On the night of the 8th day after the zombie virus broke out, there were continuous explosions in the small town at the foot of the mountain, and there was a sea of fire. The zombies wandering around near the courtyard were attracted by the sound and swayed down the mountain. I wonder what happened to the people in the town. I sighed and went back to my room to sleep. Daughter, wake up, there's a car coming. Early in the morning, I was woken up by my mom. Mark appeared again. When I went to the rooftop, their car was parked in front of the excavator that I had parked horizontally in the middle of the road. The truck on the halfway up the mountain had been moved away. I guess the explosions last night had attracted all the zombies away. Mark and the others took the opportunity to come up the mountain. Fortunately, I still had a backup plan. Now they were blocked in front of the bulldozer and couldn't move forward any further. After all, there was a key in the small truck. If you could open the door, you could drive it, but the bulldozer didn't have such a situation. Mark didn't have the ability to pick the lock, so he could only curse around the bulldozer. After a while, he went back to the car and took a hammer to smash the window glass of the bulldozer. My in-laws and that woman also got out of the car and looked around cautiously. I wasn't afraid of trouble while watching the excitement. I ran downstairs to get the drone. This thing had a high-definition camera and could clearly capture Mark and the others in the air. The sound pickup effect was also excellent, and it could even pick up my mother-in-law's muttering clearly, "Mark." The female neighbor was the first to notice the drone and pointed at it and shouted at Mark. He stopped the action of smashing the glass and stared at the drone. The flesh on his face was twitching, and he looked as ferocious as a ghost seeking revenge. 23. Wife, I know you're there. Can you let me in? Husband was wrong. Husband really knows he was wrong. I won't dare to do it again in the future. Will you forgive husband this time? Mark threw away the hammer in his hand and cried and kowtowed towards the drone. Seeing that I didn't respond, he suddenly slapped himself in the face. It's all husband's fault. It's right for you to be angry with me, blame me. It's all my fault. Wife, just let me in and you can hit me as much as you want until you're willing to forgive me. Okay. His face was visibly red and swollen, showing that he had really hit himself hard. I grabbed a handful of melon seeds and ate them while watching. My mom even specially brought me a bottle of Wonwaji. Eating too many melon seeds will make you have internal heat. Drink something to reduce the heat. Mom is the best. I took a big sip of the Wonwaji. It was icy cold and refreshing. It's all your fault. It's you slut, who seduced me. Otherwise, how could I have taken a fancy to you, seeing that I still ignored him? Mark suddenly turned his anger on the female neighbor. My father-in-law beside him raised his foot and kicked the female neighbor hard, saying, "Hurry up and kneel down to apologize to my daughter-in-law. It's all because of you bitch, that caused this mess between them as a couple. I really admire them. They truly are father and son." The female neighbor knelt down crying and howled at the drone. "I was wrong, wife. It's all this bitch who seduced me. She pulled me to a hotel room when I was drunk. And then she said she was pregnant. She cried and made a scene, insisting that I marry her. This bitch doesn't even take a look at herself in the mirror. With her behavior, she doesn't deserve to be my wife." Mark grabbed the female neighbor's hair and stared at the drone. "Wife, I'll avenge you right now." With 2 slaps, he hit the female neighbor in the face. Mark was still cursing foully. "You slut, who told you to provoke my wife? You even said she couldn't have children. Even if my wife can't have children, she's still my wife. What you gave birth to is a bastard." 24. I didn't. Just as the female neighbor made a sound, Mark slapped her in the face several more times, extremely hard. Blood even flowed out from the corner of her mouth. "Weren't you being arrogant before? You even showed off in front of my wife." Mark dragged the female neighbor by her hair and walked forward. The female neighbor didn't struggle at first, but suddenly she seemed to realize something and struggled violently. "Let go of me, let me go." There was the big pit I dug ahead. When Mark climbed the excavator to smash the window just now, he should have seen the zombies inside. He actually wanted to throw the female neighbor in. "Help, Mom and Dad, save me." The female neighbor howled and clung tightly to Mark, preventing him from throwing her down. She also called for my in-laws. Unexpectedly, My in-laws actually pried the female neighbor's hands apart from left and right and helped Mark throw her down. I was horrified. I grabbed the Juga repeating crossbow. I absolutely couldn't let them live. Wife, look, I've avenged you. Mark looked at the drone and showed a ferocious smile. I also aimed at his head and shot an arrow from the crossbow, but it missed and hit his arm instead. Fortunately, the Juga repeating crossbow could shoot 6 arrows at once. Without hesitation, I pulled the trigger continuously. After the first arrow, he turned around and ran. My second and third arrows all hit his back. It was not until the last arrow hit him right in the back of the head that he fell heavily to the ground. Murder. My mother-in-law let out a howl. My father-in-law beside her actually turned and ran. He didn't care about his son anymore and also abandoned his wife. The car made a turn and sped away. My mother-in-law stood there in a daze, looking at my father-in-law who had disappeared with disbelief. Then she looked at her son who was lying on the ground motionless. She seemed to have all her strength drained out of her and slowly slumped to the ground. 25. I had already picked up another Juga repeating crossbow with an arrow loaded. Seeing the scene, I put it down. Forget it. It was just like this anyway. My mother and I went downstairs to play the game It Takes Two. I was actually the one holding us back. My mother played even better than me. I really couldn't stand it. Forget it. Forget it, my brain isn't good. I must have inherited it from my dad. After finishing a game, I held a cup of milk tea and went back to the rooftop. I found that the zombies in the pit had actually climbed up from the side slope. They should have been attracted by the smell of blood and pounced on Mark's body, biting and tearing at it. Your mother-in-law. My mother pointed at the woods by the roadside. My mother-in-law was already lying on the ground motionless. And the one gnawing at her was the already mutilated female neighbor. This family was reunited in a rather strange way, except for my father-in-law. I was quite disappointed that he had run away. I should have practiced my aim with the Juga repeating crossbow more so that I could hit one target with one shot. In the end, I shot 6 arrows at one person and almost failed to kill him. But my father-in-law would definitely come back. I didn't slack off at all. I shot at the target every day, determined to directly shoot him in the head when he came again. Unexpectedly, more than half a year passed, and my father-in-law never showed up again. My mother said that he should be dead. After all, with so many zombies outside, it was no wonder that an old man in his 60s like him couldn't find a shelter and died. Anyway, it didn't affect my mother and me from continuing to live our small life. Mom, let's have a barbecue on the terrace tonight. Sure, Mom will go and skewer the food now. My mother happily went to work. In the past 6 months, she either planted vegetables and fed the chickens or cooked delicious food for me. Fortunately, I practiced with the crossbow and did exercise every day. Otherwise, I would have become a 200-pound fat woman already. In the dead of night, the whole world was shrouded in darkness. The lights on the terrace of my house were still on, and the barbecue meat was sizzling and oozing oil. In this apocalypse, my mother and I took a bite of the barbecue meat and a sip of the watermelon coconut milk with plenty of ice. It was simply wonderful. All right then, I don't have to worry about you anymore. Extras. It has been more than 5 years since the zombie virus broke out. My mother and I were playing the game It Takes Two again. We had already cleared the game for the 3rd time. Suddenly, my phone screen lit up. It was a text message. The zombie cleanup is in progress. Please go to the relief stations by yourselves to receive supplies if you are in need and are in the safe areas. Mom, there's internet again. I jumped up and handed the phone to my mother to show her. The relevant departments had been gradually releasing the addresses for receiving supplies and informed everyone that the zombies in the surrounding areas had been cleared and they could go there with confidence. As I scrolled through my phone, I suddenly found that the car at the car accident scene posted by a netizen in the same city looked familiar. Then I saw the license plate number, which was Mark's car. In the video, my father-in-law staggered out of the car. Before he could run a few steps, he was knocked down by the zombies beside him. The posting date was 5 years ago. It should be that this netizen took the video and tried to upload it, but the internet was cut off, and it couldn't be uploaded until now. When the internet was restored, it was automatically uploaded successfully. I scrolled through it. All the videos were shot 5 years ago, and there were almost no recent ones. I don't know how many survivors there are left, but fortunately, we have all survived. It's finally over.